This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Here's a quarterback sneak by Daniel Jones. He's in! Touchdown! And the Steelers have gone 3 and out on both of their drives to begin the game as Corliss Waitman punts, and he may have been run into. As Josh Downs muffs the ball, it's picked up by the Steelers. Backing to throw on play action is Jones, and the ball may have come out, and it is a strip sack and a recovery by T.J. Watt. That is their first takeaway in the last 3+ games. And T.J. Watt, the strip sack master, gets a sack and a fumble recovery. Daniel Jones takes to the air, and he throws it right to a Steeler. That's Peyton Wilson. He's at the 20 and then tripped up. And it's the third giveaway today already in this first half by the Colts. Rodgers backs to throw, plants, zips it upfield, and it's caught at the goal line for a touchdown. Pat Fryermuth. Jones RPO throws it up, and it's picked off. It's batted up in the air and intercepted by the Steelers. And they sweep it to Warren, and he's in. Touchdown. Pittsburgh has their biggest advantage so far. Jones out of the gun, on the near hash, backs the pass again, and it's tipped to the line of scrimmage again, incomplete. No, it's recovered by Pittsburgh. Back in the throw is Jones, over the middle, flies it, and it's picked off. Joey Porter Jr. They tried to go to Josh Downs, but was intercepted by Porter. That's giveaway number 6 today for the Indianapolis Colts.
Hard to win when you turn it over like we did.
Turn it over as many times as we did today, you're going to have a tough time winning. So obviously that's on me. I got to protect the ball better and make sure we're giving ourselves a chance.
Get out.
The last thing we hear there is the appreciative, Indianapolis-loving Myles Turner showing so much love to the crowd and back. And, of course, 6 turnovers for the Indianapolis Colts. We got a classic World Series game over the weekend. Indiana, a lot of people are talking about them being the number 1 team in the nation right now. All kinds of sports to talk about today. And Kevin Bowen, good morning. Our third member of the show is in an airport somewhere in Pittsburgh getting ready to come home after watching that game yesterday. Mark Dykton here as always. Kevin Bowen, where do you want to start first? 6 turnovers, classic World Series game, Indiana football, Myles Turner returning. I mean, so much stuff going on this morning. Where is your brain locked right now? I'm guessing I know where it's at, but where do you want to start?
I mean, Saturday night was I can't believe there are people in this world that don't like sports moment, so I would love to start there, but this is local radio, so I guess we will stick with the task at hand. I think I said to you last Monday, I feel like these shows have become redundant, and that's a positive to the Colts.
Yeah.
You know, we had done the same Monday show over and over again. We haven't done this one, though, all year long, and we haven't really talked about a loss, of course, more than twice here this season. So, yeah, really shocking performance, particularly, I thought, from the Colts offensive line. I think that'll be the root of so much of what we talk about, and, boy, I'm curious, Mark, does that cut make the tribute video tonight? Do we hear that in 12 hours from now?
I think we will. I think you'll hear it.
You will hear that specific cut.
I think you'll hear it, and then I think the live crowd will, instead of cheers, it will be boos.
Would the NBA look at the game operations as inciting negative behavior if they did that?
No, because the crowd's going to react how the crowd's going to react.
It does seem like, and again, 12 hours from now, Pacers, Bucks, I assume 12 hours from now, the tribute video might very well be played, about 7:03, 7:04. I do think the Myles Turner chatter as of late has led to the crowd reaction being, okay, it might have been majority of boos saved until the game starts.
Right.
And I think it's going to be sprinkled, maybe even heavily sprinkled, into that tribute video.
He's been talking an awful lot, and it never looks positively on his time in Indiana, as he's now a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, talking about Myles Turner and the Bucks in town tonight. And so we got a lot to talk about there. And as I said on Friday, I think you're right, Kevin. I think it's starting to change a little bit more negative just in the whole, because a week ago we talked about this, and I said, I think he'll get a nice ovation when he's announced, and then you boo him every time he touches the ball for a while, right? But I think you're right. I think there's going to be a smattering, if not more so, an avalanche of boos at the very beginning of the game, just because of how much talking he's done and how much has come out over the last week and a half. Not terrible stuff, But just stuff like, dude, why are you still talking? Why can't you just say, hey, I had a really good time in Indiana for better than a decade. It was time for me to do something different. Why can't you just stop there?
It's been a while since we had this Monday anger. Has it not?
It has. And we've got angst everywhere, Kevin. Got angst. Unless you're an Indiana football fan, then you're just gliding on a magic carpet right now. Man, did they look good. And we'll talk about all this before it gets going, before the show is done today. And we're going to take a lot of feedback today. I think today is a perfect day to hear from you on the phones at 239-1070, on the fan text line at 239-1070. Want to get it off your chest. There's a lot of already, before we even got going, there are some folks that are a little upset with the Colts right now. And the big question nationally, you've seen it, Kevin, and maybe we need to ask it here too. Did the clock strike midnight and the Colts return to who they truly are? Or was that an anomaly, one game in what has been a 9-game season so far, in which it has been overwhelmingly positive for the most part? And that's just one of those games that happens in the NFL.
Yeah, I think you've earned the benefit of the doubt, to put it simply. So I don't look at it and say, I guess to use the analogy there, the clock striking midnight. I mean, you could just boil it down to 6 turnovers. I could just repeat that for 3
Say
hours.
that again? How many?
6 turnovers. I believe the last time they had done that, and I actually remember this game quite well, Peyton Manning tossed not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 interceptions in a Sunday night game against the Chargers. They still almost won the game. Adam Vinatieri missed a chip shot to win that game. I believe that was after maybe the 5th. I think he hadn't thrown his 6th just yet. That's the last time. And that was 2007. And the year is what?
2025.
So quite a long time ago. So yes, you could boil so much of it down to that. You know, I will say, I guess a couple items. One, if you'd have told me at the start of the day, DK Metcalf's going to have 2 catches for 6 yards. Jalen Warren's going to have under 2 yards per carry. The Colts are going to go and convert 5 for 5 on 4th down. They're going to fake a punt.
Right.
They outgain Pittsburgh by, 140-some yards? I'd be like, Colts rolled. It's the same old Monday show we've done time and time again. So why? Again, it all boils down to the offensive line. Now, there is a little bit of a thought that, again, one more game before the bye week, and, more of these types of games, I think, do show up on the schedule the rest of the way. A little bit more of a quality opponent, road atmospheres, et cetera, et cetera. If you can have an effective, which is easier said than done, but if you can have an effective 4 or 5-man rush, put a little bit more on the plate of Daniel Jones, what happens?
Yeah, and I thought everybody's going to talk about Daniel Jones this morning, and he made some costly turnovers, obviously, and didn't play his best game by a long shot. But I thought the only word to describe the offensive line yesterday was awful. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't protect Daniel Jones. We talked about T.J. Watt being a game wrecker. Not only him, but it seemed like there were 3 or 4 guys on that front 7 that were game wreckers for Pittsburgh yesterday. Like, there was a lot going on there, and it wasn't all just on Daniel Jones, Kevin.
I thought the Watt strip sack changed the game.
Yeah, and that was fair. That was first quarter, right? Late first quarter.
Early second.
Was it early second already?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken. But that, to me, Jeff, was just, I'm such a believer in game flow. And at that point, you had the 13-play touchdown drive.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh had done nothing, and they had already gotten the short field off of the Josh Downs muff punt, and they still hadn't converted that. They'd had 10 plays to that point without a single first down. That is a 1st and 10 for the Colts in scoring range. They are on the way to go up 10-0, 14-0. And if you think there are going to be some boos tonight inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, if the Colts would have gone up 10 or 14-0, those yellow towels would have been used as megaphones to be booing Mike Tomlin and company. And that Watt play just, I think, single-handedly changed the game, and the avalanche started from there. And I just thought Daniel Jones never looked settled after that. He threw the pick on the very next drive, easily his worst interception of the year. And then those ends, in particular, Highsmith and Watt, just continued to tee off the rest of the game. So that play, which I've thought about a lot, it's a first down play. Are you a little greedy there, trying to take a shot? I know J.J. Watt did a nice job diagramming it afterwards. Tyler Warren was wide open in the flat. Looked like Daniel Jones was looking for Alec Pierce, which when Alec Pierce starts the game like he did, I understand wanting to hang in the pocket and maybe look for Pierce down the field. But again, I'm not overly concerned about this one. But, I can hear from people that say, hey, look, when the Rams have showed up, when the Chargers have showed up, when the Steelers have showed up, when the Broncos have showed up, It's been about a coin flip team.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the types of teams you will see in January. Now, again, you got to position yourself for January, and that means largely taking care of business when you play bottom feeders and don't do what the Packers did yesterday or don't do what the Lions did yesterday and, take care of business when those teams pop up on the schedule. So the Colts have definitely done that. And weirdly, Jacksonville is only one game back in the loss column. For those that watched that 4 o'clock game, that was a huge 2-point conversion that the Jags batted down to win that game. And the Colts and Jags have yet to face off this season.
There's a lot of crazy things happening in that Jacksonville game. We'll get to all of that. But before we move on completely, I just want to make sure we talk about this for a moment. A lot of Colts talk coming up, and I see we're already getting an avalanche of messages on the fan text line, 239-1070. Keep that coming. We'll get to that coming up in a little while here. But, Kevin, I've been watching sports professionally for a long, long time. Long time. I have covered Major League Baseball at MLB Network Radio. I've covered the NFL since day one. NBA, same thing. I'm a huge hockey fan, covered the NHL for a while. One of the top 5 best games of any sport I've ever seen in my life. And maybe it's recency bias, but I'm going with it right now. How much time did you get to spend watching Game 7 of the World Series on Saturday night between the Dodgers and Blue Jays?
Yeah, I watched everything. Yep. Epic. Just epic. Again, why you love sports. There's no other way to describe it. The unpredictability, the heroic efforts. Yamamoto, I saw someone tweet, I think he's reporting pitchers and catchers are reporting today, and he's the one leading it, for next year. It just...
He's starting a fall league game today, probably.
Literally, yeah. Does the Japan national team have a game today? Is he pitching for them? Just epic. And Rojas doing what it was one of those where I was like, I need the sleep, but I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
And that's when sports is pretty good.
There were so many moments in that game, too, whether it was the ball getting lodged under the cushion or the Will Smith's foot just briefly losing place with home plate and all that. Just like stuff like that where it's like there are just moments in this game that are just like, can we keep this going? I was just hoping it would.
How about in the ninth, that wild catch where the outfielders almost run into each other?
They
and
do
come
run
up with
into
the
each
game.
other. And Kike Hernandez saying after the game that he was like on the ground being like, he thought the game was over. He had to hear, from his teammate there that the ball was caught. He was like, no. I thought it was over at that point. So, yeah, just a absolutely epic Game 7 of the World Series.
Man, that was just so much fun to watch. It was one of those things, and Mark, I know you watch baseball 162 games for the Cubs every year. But what I love about playoff baseball, and especially Game 7, right? It goes without saying, you can feel the tension rise with every pitch in every inning. Everything means so much. And who doesn't want a guy on their team? And I thought this for a couple of years now. And as somebody who, I'm neither for or against the Dodgers. I just want to watch great players play. Doesn't everybody on any sport want a guy like Max Muncy on your team, Kevin, who just somehow finds a way to come through in the clutch every time his team needs him?
It's almost a forgotten play with, how everything unfolded once he got to the ninth and on that. So, yeah, it was tremendous. Thank you to falling back. My kids, I'm not very happy about it right now in relation to them, but I was very happy to get the extra hour on Saturday night.
Yeah,
last night getting them to bed was a nightmare.
Right. And last thing before we break and get to the first check down, the defense in that game was insanely good.
Kike Hernandez almost falling over but throwing out the guy at home was unbelievable.
Some of those plays at first base, though, by Vlad, unbelievable. Just incredible stuff. So anyway,
second greatest Game 7 I've ever witnessed in my life.
I know which one you're referring to.
I'm biased.
A rain delay?
That's true.
Little rain delay action?
Yep.
All right, coming up in a moment to check down a lot of Colts stuff today, a little bit of Pacers and Myles Turner. Pacers, they're on a winning. They're trying for a winning streak tonight, Kevin. I'm here for it. We'll talk about it all over the next 2.5 hours or so right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Not so happy over at West 56. Colts suffer their second loss of the season. They lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-20. Kevin Bowen, 6 turnovers, or technically 5 turnovers and a muffed punt. However you want to look at it, it's hard to overcome that on the road in the NFL.
Yeah, and I thought the offensive line, the root of really everything we'll talk about today. I honestly thought your defense gave you one of the better performances that they have in a while, especially against DK Metcalf and Jaylen Warren. But yeah, turnovers, and inability to get Jonathan Taylor going. I know we'll probably get into the usage of Taylor here in a little bit, but certainly not a Monday show that we have been used to very often this season, and that's a credit to the Colts. So now off to Berlin for them. They will have a normal week through Thursday and then head out to Germany late Thursday night.
Daniel Jones on the day, 31 of 50 for 342 yards, but the key stats, just 1 touchdown pass, 3 interceptions. If you look at the pass receiving stats, Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce both had a great day. 9 catches, 115 yards for Pittman, 6 catches, 115 yards for Pierce, but the turnovers just come up and they bite you, and they got them yesterday. So the Colts now 7-2, getting ready to go out of the country to take on the Atlanta Falcons. That one will be in Berlin on Sunday, and we'll talk more about that coming up in a little bit later on. You take a look at the NFL standings right now in the AFC South. The Colts are 7-2. Jacksonville just one back in the loss column, as you pointed out a little while ago, Kevin, at 5-3, turning quickly into a 2-team race. So we'll see what happens as we go on there. It was a wild day in the NFL yesterday. Speaking of divisional opponents, the Jacksonville Jaguars got a late win on a 2-point conversion against the Raiders. But in that game, Cam Little, Kevin, a 68-yard field goal. The kickers have been telling us, the special teams coaches have been telling us, sometime soon we are going to get with the fact that they can now use the kicker balls, the balls that they want to use, not just those fresh out-of-the-box footballs. We're going to get a 70-yard field goal soon. Cam Little hit from 68.
The balls are juiced.
They are right. Those balls are ready to go.
That
Mark,
was a big result. That was a big result for the Colts, honestly. And again, just one game back in the loss column, weirdly, Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And the Colts have yet to play the Jags this season. So that's just the one thing about the result yesterday. Again, I don't think big picture it's that alarming, but it just creates a little bit more urgency going into Berlin. You got at Kansas City waiting out after the bye week. You want to take care of business against a Falcons team that continues to struggle.
Yeah, speaking of Kansas City, they lose the Sunday night game 28-21 to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, and really the game I didn't think was that close. It felt like Josh Allen and the Bills were in control pretty much from the second quarter on, Kevin. They just looked like they were the better team last night.
Yeah, which is kind of what they do in the regular season against Kansas City, right?
Yeah, and then things change in the postseason. One more AFC South game I want to tell you about. The Houston Texans, who looked like they were getting it together, they lose their quarterback in the second quarter to a concussion, and the Denver Broncos once again do what they do in the fourth quarter. They look just terrible for 3 quarters, Mark, and then they come back and win their 4th last-second win in a row. They beat the Texans 18-15 with 11 unanswered in the final few minutes of that football game, and the Houston Texans now at 3-5 and not certain what their quarterback situation is going to be. They look like they may be also Rams in the AFC South this year, Kevin.
And they play Jacksonville, right?
Yep.
Coming up this week, so the Jags could be facing Davis Mills here on Sunday.
Broncos one of the more confounding teams because three quarters of football. You're like, this team stinks. How did they win 6 games? Then they put it all together in the 4th, and they win their 7th. I'm like,
not sold on Bo Nix.
No, I don't know what's going on with him. That hit on C.J. Stroud was vicious.
You look at that. First of all, it was kind of bang, bang. Like he started to slide at the same time the guy starts flying in. The referees looked at that, and they said it was not an intentional shot.
No, I'm not saying it was a dirty hit. I'm just saying
the turf.
Yeah, just a
Honestly, when you see those hits, it's a miracle Daniel Jones last week didn't have to go into the blue tent at all.
I know.
For that hit.
And then speaking of gruesome injuries, did anybody catch the Jaden Daniels non-throwing elbow going in the wrong direction in the fourth quarter of last night's game?
I think Maddie had said 3 different times he's running for his life on the previous 3 series. She felt very bad for him, and then that was really, really ugly. So the update I don't think was maybe as bad as it looked. Mm-hmm. I mean, it looks awful. Don't watch the replay. The elbow's bending in directions it probably shouldn't bend there. But why he was in the game at that point when Sam Darnold looked like I don't know, Sammy Baugh. I'm trying to think of good Sam quarterbacks. I was about to say Sam Bradford. Did he win a Heisman?
Bradford did, yeah.
Okay.
I think he did.
Maybe Oklahoma Sam Bradford.
Yeah. By the way.
Dislocated elbow, though, from what NFL reporters are saying.
Sam Darnold, can we just talk about what he did with Minnesota last year and what he's doing with Seattle now? I think it's time to acknowledge that he's become a really good quarterback, Kevin.
Is that the best team left on the Colts schedule?
Could be. They're flying. They're 6-2, and he hit 16 of 16 in the first half last night for better than 250 yards in the first half. Later on tonight, Monday Night Football, Arizona Cardinals take on the Dallas Cowboys.
So better than the Chiefs?
I don't know. Seattle looks pretty good.
Seattle is looking pretty
Kansas
good.
City's been up and down. Speaking of Monday night games, we've got Monday Night NBA over at the Fieldhouse tonight. The return of Myles Turner. Kevin Bowen, what do you think is likely to happen prior to the game?
I think you're going to get a good amount of boos during the tribute video. I think we have reached that point. I thought originally it was only going to be when the game started, but I think you will get some of that. I don't know, maybe the Monday energy, maybe people are a little slow moving here on this Monday, but I think there will be some venom in the building. And, boy, the Pacers really needed that result on Saturday night. Huge fourth quarter. Quentin Jackson, excellent, made some big-time plays for the Pacers. They needed that against a Warriors team that was pretty darn healthy.
A bold statement after the game by Quentin Jackson as well when he said, I outwilled Steph Curry.
Quentin Jackson has absolutely no fear. Absolutely no fear.
NASCAR season has come to a close. Yesterday, Ryan Blaney wins the season finale in Phoenix, but Kyle Larson gets the overall Cup victory for 2025. We're waiting to find out later this week what the official college football playoff rankings are going to be. Where will Indiana fall, Kevin, after a 55-10 whacking of Maryland over the weekend? They are perfect right now at 9-0, and they just keep racking up the wins. Looks like a bye is coming their way is what it looks like.
They're whacking it and racking it, right? That's what Indiana's doing down there in Bloomington.
Man, that's what they're doing. Purdue almost pulled off the unlikely upset. They lose to Michigan 21-16. And Notre Dame, despite kicking woes, got past Boston College 25-10. That had to have you on the edge of your seat all night long, that football game.
Yeah, it didn't help Maddie's blood pressure, honestly, with my actions on Saturday. So I'll publicly apologize to my family for that.
All right, that's what's
going on.
Shout
out to the Sycamores of Indiana State. Yep. Upset number 4, South Dakota State, one of the more marquee wins for Kurt Mallory in quite some time there. So excellent to see that. And college basketball starts in earnest today. For our local teams, although, are you guys coming over tonight? Notre Dame, Long Island at 7?
I will probably be at the Pacers game to see how Myles Turner fares.
Oh, my gosh, Mark?
I mean, I'll happily accept the invite. I can bring that over.
Should we go 2 TVs, or should we just stick with Notre Dame, Long Island, maybe catch up on Pacers Bucks later?
I say we go 2 TVs, maybe 3 TVs. You guys want to watch some pro wrestling in the house, too?
I'm sure in the final week of her pregnancy, Maddie can't wait to host people tonight.
I know. Purdue, Evansville tomorrow, I believe at 6:30 from West Lafayette as the number 1 team in the land gets underway. Indiana, Alabama A&M, and Butler, Southern Indiana on Wednesday. So IU and Butler Wednesday, Purdue coming up tomorrow.
IU Indianapolis plays Ohio State on the road tonight, and Louisiana will be at Ball State. So that's what's happening. In your world of sports, we'll talk with James Boyd, who's somewhere in Pittsburgh at an airport, I would think, right now, coming up in a moment. And then we'll get to a lot of your feedback, phone calls at 239-1070, coming up starting at about 7:45, as well as we are getting deluged, Mark, by text messages. We'll get to some of those as well. Again, 239-1070 on the Fan text line. It's a Monday morning on the Fan Morning Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Yeah, I think the turnovers were probably the biggest thing that slowed us down today. I thought we executed at times and moved the ball at times and then hurt ourselves with turnovers. So, I would go back and look at it and see what else went on and what we could have done better. But I think, obviously turnovers played a big part of it.
Daniel Jones, quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, turnovers will do that to you. 6 turnovers, 5 turnovers technically, and a muffed punt lead to a 27-20 Pittsburgh Steelers victory. That was Daniel Jones after the game yesterday. Kevin Bone, we need to have Scotty do some research. I wonder how often a team that's turned the ball over 6 times in an NFL game has ever won.
I believe the Colts were 2-23 as a franchise.
Okay.
With 6 turnovers in a game, and I went back to 2000 league-wide, 5-92-1. 5-92-1.
So your chances are about 6% is what you're saying. Right in that neighborhood.
Not very good.
No, not very good. Let's check in with the third member of our broadcast team. He is in Pittsburgh getting ready to come back from watching that game yesterday in person. James Boyd, first of all, how are your eyes after watching that thing? Are they all intact? Everything okay?
My eyes are good, but I got to say, I told y'all we're talking at 7:30. It is 7:35. I run a tight ship, man. Got to be on time.
You're here now, so tell us what your big takeaway for the Colts moving forward was yesterday.
The story I wrote after the game was basically how people are going to use this as fuel to say Daniel Jones isn't real, the Colts aren't real, and this team isn't for real. And so I think that the way they respond after this game will be key to how the narrative of the season kind of goes, because it's so easy to pick on them now and have that low-hanging fruit because, in my opinion, I looked at it like, this is a team that's better than that, but 6 turnovers, losing again to a team with a winning record. They've only got, I think, 2 wins this year against teams with winning records. That's something that's a big problem.
James, any similarities between the 2 losses for you, Rams and now Steelers?
Yes and no. I think you can say it's very self-inflicted, but I think you have to give more credit to the Steelers when it comes to just the mistakes that were made. Like, yeah, they were turnovers, and a couple of them probably were on them. The Josh Downs turnover, the first interception, I'll leave from Daniel Jones, but a couple other plays, I just felt like, you have to give credit to that Steelers pass rush that really just whooped up on the Colts offensive line. That is something to keep an eye on because they have been great all year. So, Daniel Jones gets the blame and he gets all the turnovers, but the offensive line, I think, was the bigger, overarching, message from that game because Daniel Jones ran for his life for most of the day, and it resulted in obviously one of his worst days and him looking like the guy that got, banished from New York.
And when you talk about that offensive line, I don't think any of us saw that coming. Credit the Steelers for not letting Jonathan Taylor get loose. Obviously, they got backed into a corner, and Pittsburgh could pin their ears back. But what was the sentiment of that offensive line and Shane Steichen in the locker room afterwards?
I think a lot of it, they just felt like, this is a chance for us to respond. Michael Pittman Jr. had a funny comment about how they, didn't want to go 17-0 anyways because I guess if you do that and you're the Patriots, you're going to lose in the big one when it matters the most. But I'd have to hard to tell them, like, yeah, you already dropped one. So the undefeated season was already off the board. But they were just talking about how they had to basically rally and make sure it doesn't spiral into anything bigger. And I do think they have the resolve to do that. It's just, again, the pundits, the bigger markets, the people who don't pay attention to this team all year, they're going to look at this one game and say, okay, well, the Colts are frauds. And so I think this is kind of fuel to that fire to say, okay, if you aren't fraudulent, if you are for real, go out there in Germany next week and beat the Falcons, and obviously a huge one coming up in Week 12 against the Chiefs.
James, you already saw a little trade deadline activity here this morning. We'll get to that in just a second. But did yesterday do anything for you, on your opinion, with the trade deadline for the Colts coming up 4 o'clock on Tuesday?
Not necessarily. I kind of felt like they should have, made a move or should make a move before tomorrow's deadline. But at the same time, it wasn't like it was invalidated or reinforced yesterday. I felt like, if anything, the defense actually wasn't the problem for the first time this year. It was the offense. You gave them a lot of short fields to work with, and the defense tried to bail you out. They helped you out on the Josh Downs muffed punt, but then you cannot continue to do that. You look at those points in that game. I believe the Steelers scored 24 to 27 points off of turnovers, and that just can't happen against a team that yeah, the Steelers might not be that great on paper, but they found ways to win. Give me 1 second.
Yep. We'll give James Boyd just 1 second there as I don't know if he's going through security or whatever.
Well, he's listening to the exit row instructions, right?
That's probably what it is there. But, yeah, the Colts try to bounce back all of a sudden. All right, go ahead. You were going to continue your thought there. We talk about Atlanta and what's coming up next and how what really happens next determines the narrative for this Colts team. But did you get the sense that they're just going to say, hey, look, aberration, we got to do a lot better, and we're going to move on? What is that kind of what you got from that locker room?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, they basically were saying it's kind of like an anomaly, having 6 turnovers, which it is. I mean, that's the most turnovers by any team in a single game this season. I believe it tied the franchise record, and just a weird day overall for them. However, again, I think the offensive line has to really look in the mirror and say, we can't be this bad. We can't be this porous because, Braden Smith, I thought, did not play that well. I thought Bernard Ryman, for a guy who gave $100 million, $100 million left tackle.
All right, we're losing you now, James. That means you're about to take off. We appreciate you checking in from the airport in Pittsburgh as he was there to cover for The Athletic the 27-20 loss for the Indianapolis Colts to the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday.
Do you like when the flight attendants make jokes on the...
Oh, it doesn't bother me. It tells me that they're at least trying to be in a good mood for everybody.
Yeah.
First thing I do when I get on a plane.
Some of them are really good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Some of the jokes I audibly laugh at.
Have you heard the same joke twice, though? I travel a lot.
I don't
Sometimes
think I travel enough for me to hear the same joke twice. But
the one thing I do, though, when I first get on the plane, I go out of my way to make eye contact, smile, and say, hey, hope you guys are having a great day today.
Oh, that's very nice.
I just find that your flight can be better if you already get a little simpatico going with the flight attendants.
Pound wings, if you're flying Southwest. The Dolphins have traded Jalen Phillips to the Eagles for a 3rd-round pick. We've talked a lot about Miami's situation. They fire their GM after the loss on Thursday Night Football. There ends. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips were long rumored to be candidates to be traded here. And again, Jalen Phillips, former first-rounder, I believe, I'm not mistaken, he is a free agent coming up this offseason. So that's a 3rd-round pick for... a
rental
back half of the season, and we'll see if they can re-sign him. But puts a little bit of market value, I think, out there. And I'll continue to reiterate what I've said throughout with the trade deadline, Jeff. To me, I have viewed corner less than edge rusher. And I think yesterday was a reminder, in my opinion, of my thoughts. First off, credit to Jalen Jones. Back in the lineup, played the most snaps of any Colts cornerback. I thought he was a big part in helping limit DK Metcalf to just 2 catches. I mean, DK Metcalf had 2 catches for 6 yards. The biggest play DK Metcalf made all day was catching the onside kick to ice the game. So really good from Jalen Jones in his return. I know he had the dumb penalty there at the end of the first half, but I thought in terms of coverage, he gave you something. You expect Travaris Ward back, at some point here, probably after the bye week. And so, to me, I kind of look at trade deadline acquisitions almost at corner. You could have some in-house. Whereas edge rush, it single-handedly won the game for Pittsburgh yesterday. And obviously, I'm not saying you're finding Watt and Highsmith out there in the open market. But, JT Tuimoloau got an expanded role last week. And then this week, he played 11 snaps.
Yeah. I think Latu had a dumb penalty, too, didn't he, at one point?
Yeah, I thought Latu gave you a little bit of rush. But still, you're just not... And again, I'm not. Yesterday necessarily isn't the reflection of the Colts per se, but it's more of a reminder of what an effective rush can do for any team. And I thought Pittsburgh had that, and I think the Colts have not had enough of that over their 9 games this season. So be curious how this move around the league begins to domino.
All right, Colts Nation, let's get your feedback now. 239-1070, the fan text line. You can also call us up if you've got time on your way to work this morning, 239-1070, and you can sound off on the telephone right here. TC pointing out that they never win in Pittsburgh. Just try to move on and win Sunday in Berlin. You're 8-2 through 10 games. I'll take that back at the beginning of the season in August. I think it was such an anomaly. You go back, and I think you show the guys all the film and all the things you did wrong and all the things you got to correct. But I do think, in a weird way, so many turnovers, you can say to yourself, man, that was awful. Let's never let that happen again, and then turn the page, don't you?
Yeah, 6 turnovers obviously is a fluke. When you look at it. Now, again, a team producing an effective 4 or 5 man rush like the Rams did in week 4 and like Pittsburgh did yesterday. And honestly, I probably shouldn't even go immediately towards the rush. I would say what they did to Jonathan Taylor, and I know this was a debate heavily yesterday during the game from fans. I got a lot of questions about it. Did you have any issue, Jeff, in the usage of Jonathan Taylor?
It was such a weird game. The game script became tough because at a certain point, especially when it became 17-7, they're just pinning their ears back and they're coming at you. And I just thought that they put the Colts in a very on offense. It put them kind of in a very defensive position. And just, you've seen that when NFL defensive fronts, that front seven starts feeling pretty good about things, and you've got a Highsmith and you've got a TJ Watt, it feels like everything comes harder, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought I don't know, maybe I'm used to 2025 Shane Steichen, but he has fully embraced his own mantra, which he has said this: throw to score, run to win. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was as much of a lack of Taylor usage as it was a lack of a run game effectiveness.
Offensive line was struggling yesterday.
Right, in both run and pass. I mean, you look at the first half, Taylor had 8 carries. There's been many games this season where he's only had 8 carries. And if you look at it, I want to say his long rush in the first half was like 6 yards. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about that. 8 carries and your long rush is 6 yards. Then in the third quarter, where it's still, back and forth game, that at that point you're not in all throw mode. He had 6 carries in that quarter, and his long rush was 9. So I don't chalk yesterday up to hey, you didn't give Taylor the ball enough. No, I look at it more of your offensive line got whipped. And they got whipped not only in some of the individual breakdowns on the edge that we saw from TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, but they also got whipped in terms of establishing the line of scrimmage for Taylor. And that will be, I think, again, I don't think it's, sound the alarms and evacuate the building, but are there other teams out there that can do that? And will they try to do that of, hey, try and take away Taylor as best we can? Do we have some individual rushers that can muddy the pocket for Daniel Jones? And if you muddy the pocket of Jones and take away his first or second read, what does he look like? Because yesterday he looked pretty rough.
Yeah. A lot of folks chiming in saying, let's stop overreacting to one game, still in first place. Pat was one of the many who've sent that in. Anthony said the offensive line was truly offensive. At least half of the turnovers can be attributed to the offensive line being pushed back like schoolgirls into Daniel Jones' face. Shane did not do them any favors by refusing to call a screen pass, which is the number one recipe for stopping a blitzing defense. It did feel like at a certain point from that second quarter on that front, as I've said a couple of times, that front seven felt like they could just pin their ears back and let's go.
I'll be a broken record by the time 10 a.m. rolls around. The TJ Watt strip sack changed the game. It absolutely changed the game. You were 13-play touchdown drive to start. Your defense, I thought, was very good to start that game. I mean, think about the muff punt by Josh Downs and how big Kenny Moore was in keeping Pittsburgh out of the end zone there. I mean, that was 4 downs. You didn't allow them to get into the end zone. You were driving to go up either 10-0, maybe even 14-0. You got a 1st and 10. And Watt makes that play on Braden Smith. And to me, there's a checklist. Could you have chipped with Jonathan Taylor there? Do you need to leave, again, Watt on an island or Braden Smith on an island with Watt? Could Daniel Jones have felt that a little better? Should he have had better ball security within the pocket? CBS did a good job of diagramming that play afterwards. It looked like he was trying to take the shot to Pierce. Is that one where, hey, you got to realize Braden Smith's a single team right here? Yes, I'd love to take the shot to Pierce, but I should probably look for that check down to Tyler Warren a little bit quicker in my sort of progression there. I think those are all questions you would have on that play. But, yeah, I just thought Watt changed it. And in general, Jeff, I thought what was extra frustrating about the Colts offensive line effort yesterday, I thought so many of the breakdowns and or Jones turnovers, they didn't occur in 3rd and longs. Sometimes when you play these teams, you get into 3rd and 13s, 3rd and 15s, mm-hmm. and they're foaming at the mouth to get after you. I mean, you think about it. The 1st and 10, Watt makes that play. Jones's interception there on the next drive, I think was like a 2nd and short. I want to say the tip ball that Jack Sawyer intercepted was a 2nd and 1. It wasn't these long down and distance situations.
They were just winning. They winning.
They just won, yeah. And I think that kind of adds to it.
I will say this: what was crazy about the whole day yesterday is I thought that Daniel Jones made 3 or 4 just insane throws. couple of times under pressure, but there was one that he dropped into Alec Pierce
how about the
for
first
a long game.
The first 3rd and 11 of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was big time right there to Pierce there. Ian Eagle, drops in a bucket. I thought was a really good way to describe it. So, it just so much of it is rooted in the offensive line play, which there hasn't been a Monday. I've said that really all year long.
Yeah. You guys ever chewed gum as much as Danny Smith has?
Oh, my gosh. That guy was a machine with that yesterday.
And I will say they were really getting into that. But then every time they showed him at the end of the game, I was like, damn. It's like he's got a chipmunk in that cheek of his.
It was reminding me of the Ace Ventura scene where he's eating a bunch of gum and it's just taking up the entire size. That's what it was. I'm like, how is your jaw not completely sore?
And J.J. Watt was right. Bazooka can lose the flavor pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's no gum that loses flavor quicker than the double bubble.
Yeah.
The blue and the pink wrapper.
Fruit Stripe
bucket,
is knocking on the door.
Comes in a huge bucket. I swear, I chomp that thing for 36 seconds. Flavor is gone, and then I feel like I'm ripping out my back molars the rest of the time I got it in there.
Big league chew or bust is what I say.
Sam from Newcastle says they looked slow on grass. Ryan from Pendleton says maybe he misunderstood JB, but the Colts need help on that D-line. Quiddy Pay is a liability. He says, but it was earlier in the game when Steichen bailed on the run, never really made an attempt to run the ball. We've addressed that, but what about overall that defensive line? Still want to add somebody there before the next couple of days pass?
Yes. Yeah. I will continue to beat that drum. I think you do need to add. I was curious because the Colts had the same injury situation they had last week at defensive end. No Tyquan Lewis, no Samson Ebukam. JT Tuimoloau played about half the snaps last week, and this week he played 11. So a very reduced role for him. And right now it just seems like your pass rush is either Buckner or Latu or, you're kind of palms up.
Random somewhere.
And just look at the quarterbacks that you still have the rest of the way and look at the quarterbacks that would be on the AFC playoff schedule as well. So, yes, I will continue to be there, and we'll see. I mean, the Colts don't go to Berlin till late Thursday night, so they can definitely execute a trade here in the next 36 hours and, get the guy in here for practice and passport and all that, and then they're off to take on the Falcons. By the way, I did see the Falcons had 6 sacks of Drake May yesterday. So again,
their defense, actually, I was watching multi-games at once. Their defense looked pretty good yesterday.
So the general blueprint of, can you get after the Colts with the 4 or 5-man rush? We'll see if Atlanta can dial that up.
When are the Falcons leaving? Do we know yet? And do we like the Colts leaving on Thursday?
It seems like most teams, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but it seems like most teams have adopted this Thursday leave. You keep the week as normal as possible. You do the melatonin red eye Thursday night. You land Friday. You pretty much walk through it Friday. And then at that point, you're playing Sunday, and boom, you're back home after that. Yeah. It seems like in the older days, you would leave, either last night after the game or today. You would leave Monday, do the whole, week over there. But
we've seen a lot of West Coast teams, if they play on the East Coast,
they
just go straight over for the whole week.
Well, the Rams practiced in Baltimore this year. They played the Ravens before they went over there. They practiced in Baltimore for the whole week, then they went over there.
Yeah. It would have made sense for the Colts to, you're right there on the East Coast. Could have just hopped a flight and gone over.
I was wondering if they might do that, but apparently
Mark,
not.
Congrats to your Bears.
Yeah.
Boy, that game had twists and turns, the likes of which I haven't seen in quite some time.
You imagine being a Bengals fan?
Oh, they're bitching and moaning at each other now. The offense is like, the defense just needs to get a stop. I'm like, do you know how much money is in that offense right now? Where did you want that money going in the defense?
Joe Flacco gets you back-to-back games of at least 38 points, and you lose both of them. Is Trey Hendrickson now in the trade block?
He was out yesterday, but that was the talk during the game. Was that is this the last image of him on a Bengals sideline?
To use the old Warner Wolf rule, though, if you had the under at 88, you lost. Think about that, Kevin.
Just an absurd game. Like, it was like 2.5 minutes left, and it was like 41 to 20 something, and then just a string of events happened where it's like, Joe Flacco got a quick score, and then the onside kick hit the heel of a Bears special teamer, and now the Bengals have the ball. I'm like, what just happened here? And we went from Tremaine Edmonds, looked like a 99-yard pick six walk-off. All right, that's it. So all of a sudden, the Bengals took the lead, and you're like, oh, God, not this again.
For the two of you, Colston Loveland looked terrific yesterday.
He finally had a breakout game. I was wondering, are we going to see this, or is this going to be kind of like Tyler Warren was clearly, is getting the run of the rookies? Colston Loveland showed up, and he showed up big time, and shout out to Kyle Monungai, too, because DeAndre Swift was injured, and that man, the 7th-round running back from Rutgers, he put it on his back, and he was
better
torching
than
the
Swift
Bengals
this year.
By the way, speaking of Loveland, maybe the most surprising element yesterday, 5 catches for 26 yards for Tyler Warren. 26 yards.
And early on, it looked like he was going to have a decent day.
And the Steelers had just been awful against tight ends this season.
Yeah. All right, we got a lot to talk about. More of your phone calls and texts coming up over the course of the next 30 minutes or so. We've got our GOATs of the week. We've got headlines of the week. We've got all kinds of things to take care of. And haven't talked about a lot yet, but we will discuss the return of Myles Turner to the Fieldhouse tonight. It's all straight ahead at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Here's a quarterback sneak by Daniel Jones. He's in! Touchdown! And the Steelers have gone 3 and out on both of their drives to begin the game as Corliss Waitman punts, and he may have been run into. As Josh Downs muffs the ball, it's picked up by the Steelers. Backing to throw on play action is Jones, and the ball may have come out, and it is a strip sack and a recovery by T.J. Watt. That is their first takeaway in the last 3+ games, and T.J. Watt, the strip sack master, gets a sack and a fumble recovery. Daniel Jones takes to the air, and he throws it right to a Steeler. That's Peyton Wilson. He's at the 20 and then tripped up, and it's the 3rd giveaway today already in this first half by the Colts. Rodgers backs to throw, plants, zips it upfield, and it's caught at the goal line for a touchdown. Pat Fryermuth. Jones RPO throws it up, and it's picked off. It's batted up in the air and intercepted by the Steelers. And they sweep it to Warren, and he's in. Touchdown. Pittsburgh has their biggest advantage so far. Jones out of the gun, on the near hash, backs the pass again, and it's tipped to the line of scrimmage again, incomplete. No, it's recovered by Pittsburgh. Backing the throw is Jones, over the middle, flies it, and it's picked off. Joey Porter Jr. He tried to go to Josh Downs, but was intercepted by Porter. That's giveaway number 6 today for the Indianapolis Colts.
Hard to win when you turn it over like we did.
To turn it over as many times as we did today, you're going to have a tough time winning. So obviously that's on me. I got to protect the ball better and make sure we're giving ourselves a chance.
Get out.
The last couple of things you heard there, Daniel Jones talking about the performance of the Colts yesterday, and then Myles Turner last year after winning the conference finals and helping to send his team on to the NBA finals, going back and forth with the crowd, Kevin. Indy. And then a couple of weeks later, taking more money, which we don't blame him for that, but then bolting to the Bucks, and we all get that's how professional sports work. But then over the last week and a half, every time he talks on a podcast or somewhere else, he's kind of dragging the Pacers and his time here. So that'll be addressed later on tonight, too. Where do you want to start today, my friend?
7:05 tonight. That would be my guess. You want to be in your seats inside a Gamebridge Fieldhouse if you're looking for a tribute video to Myles Turner. Would assume something right around minute long, and we'll see what the reaction is. I tend to think, based off how things have transpired over the last few weeks, a few more boos would creep into the tribute video portion of tonight, not just the game itself. Turner really hasn't shot it well this season, did play a little better over the weekend, but kind of struggled, and we'll see if the Pacers can get another win. They're a 6-point underdog in this, and really their injury report hasn't improved too much. Andrew Nemhard, Benedict Mather, and those sorts of guys still out. You got to start with what Mark, had as the major action there on the intro. The O-line, that was the root of it all for me. I thought the game single-handedly changed on one play, and that was T.J. Watt's strip sack as the Colts were driving to go up 2 scores. And, I'm a huge believer in kind of game flow and plays, changing games in a significant manner. And I just thought with the Steelers team that was teetering, that was starting a safety they had traded for 3 days ago, if you could jump on them and create a little bit more of a hostile environment. Remember, Seattle's already won there by 2 scores this year. Green Bay had just won there by 2 scores. I thought you could have gotten Pittsburgh really, really teetering and bitching to each other on the sidelines. And when that play occurred from Watt, I think it just started an avalanche, and the Colts could not recover. It couldn't stop the bleeding at all, and that was the difference for me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of folks writing in on the fan text line this morning, and I'll agree, like we've got here Randy from Greenwood who said the offensive line was to blame for all of this. Too many tip passes because of our linemen. They couldn't push people back. When a guy raises his hands, you thrust into his chest. That's protection 101. But it was everything yesterday. I just thought they got overwhelmed at times by that defensive front that Pittsburgh was bringing in, led by Highsmith and everybody's favorite T.J. Watt, who can single-handedly wreck a game. And that was one of the things you were worried about on Friday, was if they could keep a guy like Watt from wrecking the game.
Yeah, my envision of that, Jeff, was more of like, hey, you get into a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, and all of a sudden you're susceptible to a play like that. I didn't expect it to be a 1st and 10 in your own or in Pittsburgh territory after you had started the game in the fashion that you did. If you remember, Jeff, Pittsburgh did not have a single first down in the game up until that play by Watt. I mean, they had the ball 3 times. Josh Downs had muffed a punt. The Colts defense was outstanding in not allowing any points there. And then, again, Watt makes that play that just changes so much for it all. So that, I think, is just the real frustrating aspect to it. You had the fake punt, which I thought was kind of, those are kind of backbreaking type of plays there. That drive was already building towards a double-digit play drive. I think it was north of 10 plays already there. And when I say the offensive line was the root of so much of it yesterday, I also mean establishing Jonathan Taylor. It's not just the breakdowns in the pass rush. That's obvious. I mean, particularly from Bernard Ryman and Braden Smith, but the inability to get Taylor going. When's the last time you think Taylor's carried the ball? What? How many times did he carry yesterday? 14 times?
Yep.
And didn't have a single carry over 9 yards.
14 carries, 45 yards, and 9 yards was his longest run of the day. And if you want to zoom back out and take a look at this from 30,000 feet, Kevin, just take a look at the rest of the NFL yesterday. And this is not to make excuses for a horrible day for the offensive line and taking care of the football. That's clear. We all saw every problem yesterday. But, take a look at the day yesterday. Minnesota goes on the road with their young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, first time he's played in 4 or 5 weeks, and they beat the red-hot Detroit Lions. We saw Kansas City, who's starting to look like the old Kansas City, but same old in Buffalo. They lose there yesterday. We saw Atlanta push the New England Patriots to the very brink yesterday. We saw the Carolina Panthers going to Green Bay. The Panthers, who are, by the way, have you noticed the Panthers? They're 4-5. They're hanging in there. No, actually, they're 5-4. I think, aren't they? I think they're 5-4. I'll double check that. But they beat Green Bay. Sometimes this happens in the NFL, does it not? This is a league that's built on parity, where teams are supposed to be fairly even. There's going to be good teams on good players on every team. Can you just chalk it up to, hey, over a 17-game season, you're going to have one of these games? Do you chalk it up to that?
Yeah, I think when you're 7-1 football team and you've been as dominant as the Colts have been this season, and you have a 6-turnover game, there is plenty of reason to just call it an anomaly, a fluke, however you want to look at it. And the Colts have created margin for error. Now, I think this result probably ratchets up a little bit of the urgency going into Berlin. I think naturally anytime you play a game before your bye week, there's a little bit more on the urgency meter. But, look at what's coming after the bye week. You are, I believe it's at Kansas City, and then I want to say it's Houston at home, and then trips to Jacksonville and Seattle. Mm-hmm. So you think about that. 3 of your 4 out of the bye week on the road, and look at those opponents. Kansas City, Jacksonville, Seattle. And the Jacksonville game is going to be massively important, not because you haven't won there since 2014, but more because they're just 1 game behind you in the loss column in the AFC South. So that's where I think a loss creates just a little bit more tension, healthy tension, frankly, this week for them. But I don't look at yesterday and think, oh my gosh, the wheels are going to fall off, or that's, New York's Daniel Jones is going to show up now over the second half of the season. I was surprised by it, clearly. I didn't think Pittsburgh's defense was capable of that. I didn't think the Colts offense was capable of that. But over a 17-week schedule, I think it's more of a, okay, where are the repeatable performances? And maybe you can point to some things yesterday that also showed up week 4. That is probably a conversation I could listen to. If someone wanted to say, hey, look at the schedule right now. When they've played the Broncos, when they've played the Rams, when they've played the Chargers, when they've played the Steelers, those are really the 4 teams I think you put in a different tier. The games have largely been a coin flip.
Mm-hmm. Which a lot of games like that in the NFL are.
Sure, Chargers and Steelers, let's call those a wash. Colts controlled the Chargers game. Steelers controlled yesterday. Those 2 wash. Denver and the Rams each could have gone either way. Mm-hmm. So are the Colts just like every other, a playoff type of team. They belong in the playoffs, of course, but when those games come in January, is it a game that, could be a coin flip one way or the other?
I think they showed it during the game. Any concern that, Colts had the fourth easiest schedule in the first half. Now they have the 4th most difficult schedule the rest of the way. Does that give you any, was this, obviously they're a pretty good team, but did the strength of schedule now getting a little tougher You see the Chiefs on there, the Seahawks on there, the 49ers on there, Texans, all that stuff. Did it give you any pause that, okay, let's see what this team is really made of after Berlin?
Yeah, I think you just literally said the word, when you asked that question, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I view the back half of the schedule. It is different.
Yeah.
There are, yesterday started a stretch of 5 of 6 away from home. These types of opponents, maybe not the greatest teams in the world, but better teams than, playing Cam Ward twice or playing the Raiders or playing the Cardinals or, certainly the Dolphins. Those teams aren't as abundant on the schedule the rest of the way. So, yeah, I think it is a little bit of just like, all right, what does it look like against more of those teams?
Yeah, and the second half is certainly going to, as I keep saying, the road rises. It gets more difficult for you. But I also, for everybody who thinks the sky is falling this morning, Kevin, we are now just a little bit over halfway through the season. All right, we played 9 out of 17 games. The Indianapolis Colts, if the season ended today, are still, as we sit here right now, Kevin, the number 1 seed in the AFC. Their conference record is 6-1 right now, which is the first tie break outside your division when you're looking at playoffs. And if the season ended today, the Colts would have a bye and would be hosting their first playoff game, which would be in the divisional round. Now, a lot of water has to come under the bridge between now and then. But, I mean, if you're going to set yourself up for the second half, that's exactly where you want to be, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone's saying, like, the Colts are in a bad position. No, they've done a lot of good. But, this sort of measuring stick will be more of the weekly occurrence here the rest of the way. I'll be very curious to see how they react to the trade deadline because if there is a positive from yesterday, I thought Jalen Jones looked pretty good in his return. I know he had the big penalty there at the end of the first half, but I thought in coverage on DK Metcalf, big part of just 2 catches for 6 yards. I know the Colts, committed a lot of kind of some of that cloud coverage over to Metcalf, but for me at corner right now, I look at Jones and a little bit of the Travaris Ward return and think, all right, you're going to get some reinforcements there. I think yesterday was a reminder of what an effective pass rush can do. And when DeForest Buckner, inevitably commands the double teams that he does, you need to have your edge guys be able to get home. And, Watt and Highsmith obviously did it at a game-wrecking level yesterday. And we just saw earlier today, for those that missed it, Miami traded Jalen Phillips, pass rusher that was long rumored to be traded, former first-round pick, to the Eagles for a 3rd rounder.
Eagles always just make moves.
That seems to be the word of the day. See what happens. Yeah, the Eagles are certainly aggressive. I think they feel like their window is still open. They've got to get healthy, too. A.J. Brown has been dinged up, and they haven't had a huge passing attack. Saquon Barkley has gotten loose a couple of times, but they're still, you don't necessarily want to play them on the road anytime in the postseason. And they're sitting there with a record of 6-2 also, Kevin. It's not like they've fallen off.
And unless I'm missing this, I would assume, again, Jalen Phillips is a free agent next year. So even if the Eagles don't re-sign him, they very well could be looking at a compensatory pick kind of in that general range. For those unfamiliar with how that formula works, if you have marquee free agents, for example, if Alec Pierce were to sign elsewhere next offseason, the Colts would likely get a nice comp pick back. I don't know how the Daniel Jones contract or franchise tag would impact all of that. So really for the Eagles, it might not be that big of a trade to give up, depending on exactly what happens with Jalen Phillips if they don't re-sign him. So, these are the sorts of trades. The Colts don't have their 6th-rounder for next year, but, 3rd, 4th, 5th, I think that's available to go out and make a move. And for me, I still sit right there with the pass rush and believing that you need to get something there. I don't think the JT Tuimoloau experience a little bit more playing time here has all of a sudden opened eyes to a second half of the season, huge impact from him there. So I do think that's something the Colts have got to look into before the deadline comes, 4 o'clock tomorrow.
As we sit here and you look at who might possibly be available, with Phillips gone now, do you look at a Bradley Chubb for Miami? Do you think there's any way after that tough loss yesterday for Cincinnati that Hendrickson becomes available at this point in time? Where are we at there?
Well, where is he at health-wise? Was it a hip injury, Mark? Is that why he didn't play yesterday?
Yeah, that's what they listed on the game, that he was out due to a hip.
So
did they want to just keep him healthy and keep their options open, maybe?
Well,
I don't know.
Cincinnati's options seem to be pretty slim with losing to the Jets.
But
like
they're
they did.
3-6 right now.
Losing to the Bears like they did.
Steelers with that win, improve to 5-3, and they're going to, at some point, it's going to be tough to catch them for everybody else in that division.
Well, and also you got to think about Baltimore.
Yeah.
So I think these types of guys, the Jalen Phillips, and again, I know they aren't necessarily growing on trees, but where are the Giants after another loss? Are they really keeping all of those guys? Thibodeau, Burns, all those guys. When you look at teams that are selling, Miami's got other, Dolphins with firing their GM, you would think it's kind of a fire sale for them. But when you look at these bottom feeder teams, the Saints, after them getting blown out, is Carl Granderson a guy that is available for you? Those would be some of the teams that I think you have to look at. And, to me, a third-round pick, although on paper it looks like a rental, again, if you play the comp pick game, you might get a very similar pick back for that. That would be something that I would look at exploring. Because I think if there is a positive from yesterday, it's how Jalen Jones played. And I wasn't sold that Lou Anarumo had full amount of trust in him. And for him to have shown that, I think was a really solid day from him. And again, you should be getting Javarius Ward back here soon as well. So, I think corner could get a little bit more bolstering in-house. I don't see that coming from the edge rush.
All right, let's check it down, Mark, and tell you what to watch for later on today and what happened in the last 24 hours or so.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We've been talking about it all morning. You probably watched it or listened to it yesterday. The Pittsburgh Steelers come up with a win at home over the Indianapolis Colts, 27-20. Final score, Colts dropped to 7-2 on the season. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 different times the Colts gifted the ball back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're not going to win in the NFL very often. What was the stat you came up with, Kevin?
Since 2000, I think teams that commit 6 turnovers have 5 wins out of 100 games.
Not good.
How much blame for Daniel Jones?
Some. I mean, there was a couple of times that he could have done some things a little bit better, but it's also, how this works, so it gets compounded too as the game goes on and you're under pressure. And we saw Patrick Mahomes with the Bills do it last night. You're not as sure in your footing. You start to want to get the ball out just a little bit quicker than you're supposed to. You make quicker decisions because you know that you're about to get hit again. I think some of that plays into it. I'm not all that worried about Daniel Jones moving forward. Are you?
No, I think when more is on his plate, I do have some curiosity.
Well, we're going to find out.
And he did not get help. The root of the issues yesterday was the O-line, and I don't say that just from a pass protection standpoint. The inability to get Taylor going was a huge problem for the Colts.
I blame that he was too close to the New York zip code. That's what I said. I was like, too close. Let's not do that again.
Closest game. Is that the closest game so far this year to the New York zip code?
Maybe that was it. But also, he had 5 or 6 really good plays yesterday as well. In the midst of all that, there were a couple plays you're like, oh, yeah, that's the Daniel Jones that's carrying him.
A lot of balls batted down at the line of scrimmage, and the Colts were probably due for some batted balls going to the other team luck after they've had a few go their way this year.
All right, so now the Colts get ready to take their trip to Germany. Well, they'll take on the Atlanta Falcons coming up this Sunday. Other scores of note to tell you about yesterday within the AFC South. The Broncos scored 11 straight in the last several minutes of the game to beat the Houston Texans 18-15. Jacksonville got a 68-yard field goal from Cam Little earlier in the game, then a 2-point conversion to win it in Las Vegas. 30-29 was the final there. And
did you see Cam Little already got the drug test notification?
Did
he? Yeah. He's like, come on, get to his locker. You have been voluntarily selected for the drug testing.
I think we drug test, let me be clear here, not his balls, but that ball that he kicked.
I think you're going to see more of this with the quote-unquote kicker balls being introduced.
That was impressive because that was good from north of even 68.
Yeah, there's going to be a 70-yard field goal made this year. Tennessee Titans continue their season of misery. They lose at home to the Chargers 27-20, although their defense did keep them in that game. Had a pick six, and they bothered the Chargers, but still, at the end, they are now 1-8 on the season. Last night, Sunday Night Football, entertaining game. The Bills beat the Chiefs by a score of 28-21. Also, the Arizona Cardinals, I guess the Sunday night game was Seattle or Washington. It was the late game. Kansas City won. Seattle beat Washington 38-14, but Jaden Daniels lost maybe for the season, certainly for several weeks after the elbow went in directions it's not supposed to go last night, Kevin. That was not good towards the end of the game.
Yeah, really ugly-looking injury. He was running for his life. I was a little unsure of why he was still in the game, to be honest with you, with how many hits he was taking. Was it 38-7 at that point?
Yeah, you're down 30 and you're still running out your franchise quarterback. I didn't understand that at all by Dan Quinn.
Also, I worry about him just in general. He's such a slightly built guy to play in the NFL. You worry about that? As exciting as he is to watch and some of the plays he makes, every time he gets hit, I'm like, is that going to break him in half right there?
Yeah, I mean, I've worried about that with Lamar Jackson for years, and seemingly he gets up.
Later on tonight, Cardinals take on the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. College football over the weekend, Indiana rolls again, 55-10. There are some. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a bunch of first-place votes when it's all said and done. Of course, the official college football rankings come out later this week. Right now, that looks like they'd be getting a bye and would not be able to host a playoff game, but would cruise through to the second round.
Yeah, I mean, they'll easily be in the bye territory. Yeah, the question will be, and not that there's a huge difference in being the number 1 overall seed versus the number 2 seed. Just ask Oregon last year how that turned out. But yeah, that'll be something to keep an eye. Just thoroughly impressed by their rushing attack. I mean, they actually kind of had a sloppy first 5 or 10 minutes to the game. Mendoza gets picked on that first third down, but Black and Hemby and Martin from Fishers, I mean, they were over 360 on the ground. It's really their balance that stands out to you so much. And
their defense, too.
Right. And again, they had a few injuries pop up, which is not something they've really had here in the Cignetti era, but overcame that. Now 2-touchdown favorite at Penn State. Big noon kickoff coming up Sunday.
And I think I heard Kurt Cignetti say after the game that a little worried about the injuries, but it looks like they got out of it without any major injuries is kind of what he said.
Yeah, I think the one is Drew Evans on the offensive line, going to miss a little bit of time here, but again, their schedule in November is a joke.
Yeah. Purdue has a tougher schedule in November. They lost to number 21 Michigan, but it was close. 21-16, they only lost by 5. Of course, they get number 1 Ohio State up at Ross-Ade later on Saturday. That'll be at 1 p.m. Indiana plays on the road at Penn State. That is a noon kickoff. College basketball tonight. IU Indianapolis will play at Ohio State. Louisiana at Ball State. Long Island plays at Notre Dame. That's what you'll be watching instead of Monday Night Football, right?
Instead of Pacers Bucks.
Oh, you're going to forego the return of Myles Turner, huh?
I am all in on Notre Dame basketball, Jeff.
All right. I will be at the Fieldhouse representing the show to see how things go for the introduction of Myles Turner. Mark, your key on these things. What's it sound like? What's it look like before the game?
I think it'll be a very nice tribute video for Myles Turner. I think the Pacers media will do a very good job there, and I think the fans will, might be a smattering of applause, but I expect a lot of boos, especially after that video package wraps and during the game throughout. Every time he goes to the line and all that stuff, I imagine some chants possibly as well. We shall see.
A couple of games of note in the NBA last night. San Antonio lost their first of the season to the Phoenix Suns. 130-118 was the final score there. And in Los Angeles, it is clearly Luka Doncic's team now. Whenever LeBron gets back, I'm sure that's going to be a great addition for them. But Doncic is on a roll. He had a triple-double last night as the Lakers beat the Heat 130-120. 29 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, and Austin Reeves continues his hot start. He had 26 points in the win as well. Lakers might start to be a problem out there in the West, Kevin. They're starting to look like maybe one of the best teams out there.
Shout out to Miles McLaughlin, the running back from Knox High School. He has now set the state record. Did it over the weekend in Knox's sectional semifinal win over Griffith here. For those that haven't seen, this is like a quarterback that's running a bunch of zone read and read option stuff, and has now ran for 11,004 yards in his career. And as wild as this is to say, he has a shot at Derrick Henry's national record. That is 12,144 yards. He's got, if Knox is able to make it to the state finals, that would be 4 more games, and they definitely have a shot to do that. He would have to average a little under 300 yards per game. And I know that sounds absurd.
That's kind of what he's doing, though.
He's doing more than that
yeah,
this season. So now you obviously think they're going to play better competition, of course, here in the sectional finals, regional finals, semi-state, etc., if they make it all the way there. But a hell of an accomplishment. Now, Kyle Nenrip did a piece on him a few weeks back. Seems like a really good kid. So Miles McLaughlin, your new state leader in career rushing yards.
Did I see he ran the ball 54 times the other night?
He had over 400, right?
Yeah.
In the game?
Yeah. Which is still 8 yards per carry. How crazy is that?
Do you think they just carry him from classroom to classroom? Like during passing periods, like he doesn't even have to...
Just wrap him up in bubbles, call it good.
There's always the kid that like would be on the crutches. Who's going to bring the books so they can go to lunch?
Right.
Yes, me.
Do you think his offensive line does that for him?
I would hope so.
Also, Ryan Blaney wins in Phoenix in NASCAR's final race of the 2025 season yesterday, but Kyle Larson wins the 2026 Points Cup, and so he is the 2025 champion. Anything else that you wanted to throw out? I think we've been pretty thorough there.
Yeah, we'll get more into the NFL trade deadline as we've already seen a move of a player that I think many people were hoping the Colts would have interest in, so we'll do that here upcoming next.
All right, we've got Goats of the Week coming up as well. We'll take your feedback at 239-1070 on either the phone lines or the text line, which seems to be growing in popularity. 239-1070, the number there, and we'll take a look at the Pacers and the return of Myles Turner a little bit later on. That's the next 30 minutes or so right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The 10th first down already in this game for the Colts. In orbit motion to the left is Josh Downs. Backing to throw on play action is Jones. And the ball may have come out. And it is a strip sack and a recovery by T.J. Watt. That is their first takeaway in the last 3+ games. And T.J. Watt, the strip sack master, gets a sack and a fumble recovery.
That was the story of the game yesterday. Pittsburgh Steelers forced 6 turnovers for the Indianapolis Colts. They win it by a score of 27-20. We'll be talking about that throughout the morning. Take more of your phone calls as well, 239-1070, and the fan text line also at 239-1070. And, of course, Myles Turner returns tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks against the Indiana Pacers. We'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes as well.
That's the play that changed the game.
Yeah, it was.
Right there.
Everything went south from that point on.
You had a 13-play touchdown drive to start. Jeff, that drive was 14 plays. Remember, you had the fake punt within that drive.
Mm-hmm.
You were in scoring range. It was a 1st and 10. I mean, it was going, outside of the Josh Downs muff punt, it was going as beautifully as you could have thought. The Pittsburgh Steelers had yet to have a first down in the game. I mean, that was early second quarter, 10 plays, no first downs, and then everything changed when T.J. Watt, which was an unbelievable individual effort by Watt. The rush, the strip, how about the recovery? I mean, all of it was unbelievable, and that's what game wreckers can do. And the avalanche happened after that. I didn't think Daniel Jones looked comfortable the rest of the game. He throws the pick on the very next drive, and I thought it just created such a fury of Steelers pressure the rest of the way, and your tackles really struggled. Braden Smith and Bernard Ryman didn't play to the level of what we're used to from them.
No, I didn't think anybody really played that well on the offensive line yesterday. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But right now, Mark, throughout the entire world of sports, we've got the good, the bad, the ugly.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
Oh, boy. Mark, you want to start with the good or the bad this week?
Well,
Where are we going?
A rare Colts loss. I think we start with the bad.
All right, go ahead. What do you have going on this week?
My bad goes to Bengals coach Zach Taylor, who challenged a play late in the game. DJ Moore had the ball. Looked like he got knocked out of bounds at like the 1-yard line, and the ball went loose. So they're like, oh, maybe the Bengals get the ball, and that weird turnover, if the ball goes the end zone, the other team gets the ball. So it looked like, oh boy, the Bengals are going to get the ball back, and the Bears just coughed up a golden opportunity to score. Not only did it not go the Bengals' way with the challenge, the refs turned it over and said, no, in fact, DJ Moore did cross the plane. It was a touchdown for the Bears. So a challenge for the Bengals that they thought was going to get them the ball actually turned into a Bears touchdown, which otherwise wouldn't have gone their way had Zach Taylor not challenged it. So thank you, Zach Taylor. That turned out well. That was an epic backfire on a coach's challenge.
Bengals were struggling, too. They gave up the almost never happens onside kick late in that game, too.
I'm sure Zach Taylor just kicking himself because he's like, they weren't going to call that a touchdown until I challenged it. What an idiot.
Kevin, can you match that venom?
My GOAT from the weekend negative fashion is my metabolism.
Uh-oh.
What a beautiful Friday night for Halloween. I hope everyone had a enjoyable time, a safe time. Mark, hope your girls came home with everything that they wanted from a candy standpoint. But my ability to take my kids' candy and eat the same amount that I have had in recent years in one sitting is gone. My gut feels huge right now.
Still,
and I can feel it. My metabolism stinks. It looks like the Bengals trying to tackle Colston Loveland. It is awful. It's waning. It's horrible. It's lost its fastball. I'm not Yamamoto. It's terrible. So that's my negative GOAT from the weekend. Like usually I can have a couple of Reese's, maybe even a little. Oh wow! Fun Dip. I haven't seen the Fun Dip in a while, and now I feel like I'm full until Thursday.
I'm going to build on that and go one step further. Saturday night, I had the opportunity to take my youngest son to go see the Pacers, and he wanted to see Steph Curry because he'd never seen Steph Curry in person. So we go to the game. We make it a big night. We get downtown early. We park the car. We're walking over to the field house. My son goes, Dad, we don't have to get anything to eat at the arena. Can we? He goes, we're walking by the Five Guys downtown. And he goes, can we just get Five Guys? I'm like, sure, let's go get Five Guys. Your night. Let's go do it. So we go get Five Guys. Nothing out of the ordinary. He gets a cheeseburger. I get a double cheeseburger.
Makes me want to cry.
Get the fries. Everything's okay. But then we get into the field house, and we both kind of simultaneously have this other great idea. Hey, we're here. It's your big night. You want to get a Shake Shack because they got the shake thing where they only serve the shakes over there, right? What do they call it? The shake something. I can't remember what they actually call it. But anyway, it's Shake Shack Shake. We go over there, and about towards the end of the first quarter, both of us start looking at each other. And like, what I've decided, you can have Five Guys. You can have a shake from Shake Shack. You cannot do both of those things together at the same time.
Oh, so you're also feeling it.
You can't do those things together at the same time.
Get in my belly!
That was Jeff on Friday
so
night.
We're walking back from the game afterwards on Saturday night, and we're both kind of not feeling that great.
Jeff's hurling next to Pearl Street.
And my son looks up at me, and he goes, Dad, I feel like there's a chemistry experiment being conducted in my stomach right now.
The bubble guts.
So
wouldn't be the first one to probably projectile outside a tin roof.
We kind of went the same direction. Even his young metabolism, my metabolism definitely couldn't handle that.
So that's your negative goat?
But yes.
I would say that was a good goat.
You can't put them together.
Shake and a burger.
Can't put the two of them together.
I didn't have Jeff and I's.
So my again,
stomach and
you
metabolism.
Guys are both soft.
Fast. The combination, the goat technically is you cannot combine fast food, is what I've learned.
Mark, your great goat?
My great goat, Game 7 of the World Series was great. I was pins and needles. I didn't have a horse in the race, but I was glued in. I was locked in. Just so many great moments in that game. The ball that just gets wedged under the mat in the outfield. I mean, that basically cost the Blue Jays the game right there because that would have been multiple runs probably. And then they had just so many dramatic moments. Will Smith's foot briefly losing touch with home plate. You thought the Blue Jays might have got it. You got Kike Hernandez falling backwards to throw the guy out at home. There's so many moments there. The collision in the outfield, I thought that was the game over. So many ups and downs. A thrilling Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah, I'm going to go there as well, but specifically I'm going to go to John Smoltz. I think he is the best analyst in sports. I think he does such a great job of knowing when to talk, when not to talk. Does it help that Joe Davis calls Dodgers games? Certainly. He provided a ton of great intel, I think, for the casual baseball fan, but Smoltz was at his best when Jeff Hoffman is throwing to, I think it was to Rojas, now that I think about it there, and he said something along the lines of like, he needs to throw an action pitch right here, and I think when he said it, he knew full well he was talking a little deep into baseball, so he immediately says, hey, when I say action pitch, I mean you've got to make sure that the bat is on the ball here somewhere around the zone. And sure enough, that's exactly the pitch that happened. And I think it was a Rojas home run now that I'm thinking about it here. But I just think Smoltz is awesome. I think he's so good, provides the right amount of insight, doesn't care about his ego. I'm watching Romo yesterday, and I'm just like, oh, this is just mind-numbing here. Give me more John Smoltz.
Yeah, I love John Smoltz, not only for all that he provides insight-wise, but to this day, he's on my short list of guys I want starting a Game 7 in any contest, a World Series. And to that point, my GOAT, I'm going to expand it a little bit. I'm just going to make it Game 7s. We saw a Game 7 that didn't go our way, certainly in the NBA Finals this year. We've seen Game 7s in hockey, whether it's the conference finals. The finals only went 6 games this year, but we saw Game 7 in the World Series. There is, and we all know this, it's stating the obvious, but I just want to underline it and put it in bold. Mark, there is nothing in sports like a Game 7 that ends a season that's lasted 7.5 months. There's nothing like it.
Outstanding. Saturday night lived up to all expectations. Everything you want in a Game 7, it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, we probably should individual goat it. We'll give James Boyd's goat to Yamamoto. I mean,
yeah,
what he did in coming back and throwing, 30-some pitches, whatever he did, the velocity was incredible. I know we live in an era
that was after 95 the night before.
Right. We live in an era of load management, this and that, and we debate it seemingly nightly here. What an effort from him.
Yeah. And I thought if you look at the start of the game, too, I know only a few innings, 2 1/3, I think, for for Shohei Ohtani, Mark, he gave everything he had through the entire season. He just looked like a tired guy is what he looked like.
I don't blame him.
And he still was fairly effective. He kept him in the game, but he was tired, man. That guy was exhausted. But, yeah, fantastic stuff. All right, time for us to get to a break. We're going to talk about the Pacers and the return of Myles Turner next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Yeah, I think a lot of that started last year. Even when you get into the playoffs and, you got fan base going at each other, that's when the rivalry starts. So, yeah, man, we know what tomorrow holds. We know how important it is, so we've got to go out there and get it done.
It was Myles Turner getting ready to talk about the Bucs back in March, asking if there's a brewing rivalry between the Bucs and the Pacers. And now he returns tonight with a member of the Bucs.
Certainly a rivalry, not only in the same division, but they're always slightly competing in the postseason, although injuries may prevent that for the Pacers this year. But Myles Turner comes back, and I saw a very interesting piece about Myles Turner on ESPN.com, and it really comes down to, it was about the money, Kevin. You get all the talk aside, you get everything else down, and this is, to me, about, halfway through the story. It says negotiations between Turner's agent and the Pacers quickly began to stall over the summertime, right after the NBA Finals. Indiana never extended an offer beyond $22 million annually for 3 years. Meanwhile, Milwaukee was devising a way to create cap space by waiving Damian Lillard's remaining $113 million and stretching it over the next 5 years. It was an aggressive and unprecedented move for an NBA team, but one the Bucs were motivated to make to not waste a year of Antetokounmpo's prime. Quote, Indiana, this is Myles now, Indiana made it very clear how they valued me, and so did the Milwaukee Bucks. I wonder, did it all turn on the injury to Tyrese Halliburton, where all of a sudden, instead of running it back this coming year and spending whatever they needed to spend, the Pacers are like, well, that's not going to happen now. Let's just rethink our future altogether.
Yeah, I think that was a huge part of it. I also think the Pacers were a bit blindsided by what Milwaukee did. I don't think they viewed the market for Turner getting to, what was it, 4 years and $108 million. So, they, I guess lowballed him sounds. I think they properly get. To me, Myles Turner's not a 4-year, $108 million guy. So I think the Pacers sent out a nice offer for him, and they weren't going to dip their toes all the way into the luxury tax, which I was fine with once the Halliburton Achilles injury happens. I don't think the Pacers were in a championship, immediate window for this upcoming season. And I don't know if I love paying, Turner north of $100 million and, having so much money tied up into two older guys in the front court making that type of money. So the Bucs swooped in and it unfolded in the way they did. And Myles feels celebrated like he should with the Bucs. He got paid at the level that he, probably never really thought was possible after years of being on the trade block here. So again, I think there'll be a good course of booze tonight based off some of Myles' comments. And it sounds like tribute video will happen just before tip-off, around 7:05 or so. And I would expect a little bit of booze, honestly, during that video.
Two other quotes that I thought were germane to what we're talking about here. He also said, ownership made a decision, and I kind of had no choice but to roll with it. The toughest part is we were just so close to accomplishing the ultimate goal, it just feels like they gave up. He also said, I've always been told when I was in trade rumors, this is a business, this is a business, this is a business. And it's that kind of, and that's kind of what this decision was for me. It was a business decision. It's unfortunate that it came at the time that it did, but it's a $40 million difference at the end of the day. Hard to blame a guy for that.
No, I think the business element is there. And we all want the Hollywood stories. We all want, the feel-good nature to it, but that's just not possible. I think Myles' parting shots that, he feels like some of it's taken out of context. We'll see if he gets the opportunity to clarify any of that. I assume Tony East, Dustin Apirak, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk with him this morning at the Bucs shoot-around. We'll see if he clarifies any of that, knowing it's specifically the Indiana media, not Giannis's little brother on a podcast or however these different forms where he has chatted with. So, yeah, it'll be quite the scene, I think, tonight inside of that building. I don't want to act like it's Peyton Manning emotional level Sunday Night Football or, maybe the pure venom that was there with Paul George, but you don't get too many guys 10 years for an NBA team being as consistent of a starting presence as he was to all of a sudden come back with the other team's rival so recently after playing in Game 7 of the Finals, where he really struggled in the Finals as well. But outside of that, boy, the Pacers need it. I know they got one Saturday night. They've got Brooklyn coming up on Wednesday, but it's a road trip, and It doesn't seem like Andrew Nemhard, Benedict Mathurin are going to be back tonight. We'll see exactly how close they are to getting back. So critical to try and get some of these opportunities before you head out west.
Yeah, and I just also at the time, I just want to point out, Kevin Pritchard said that he was shocked, learned out about Myles signing with everyone else through the media, because he had also said, quote, I know this, Herb Simon and Steve Rails and the Simon family were fully prepared to go deep into the tax to keep him, and we really wanted to do that. We were negotiating in good faith. But that's what happens.
They weren't going to go deep.
All right, the other thing is Pacers coming off their very first win of the year. I want to talk about that for the Pacers playback. They got 25 from Quentin Jackson, who was tremendous in that game. And also, he just is clutch. Pascal Siakam again, game tied late, I think about 35 seconds to go, and he hits that three and the place goes nuts.
Yeah, huge shot there. I'm going to go to both the Jackson shots. One when he resets to hit that three there was kind of like, oh no, yeah. And then you have the drive on Draymond Green later. I mean, he just plays with no fear. I've always felt that way about him, which I think is a really important trait when you get these guys, from the G League. And I get there's a fine balance between doing too much and also feeling like you belong. I was glad to see them change up the starting lineup. I know the Atlanta game got away from them there in the second half, but I think having more of a specific point guard with that starting unit is better. Aaron Nesmith shot it much, much better over the weekend there. Still so much on his plate, so much on Siakam's plate. But yeah, I think having a point guard in that starting lineup is needed for them.
Yeah, I do want to point out that Jackson also had 10 assists in the game, which is they've been looking for somebody to facilitate there, and they got the win. It was their first of the year. That's a
Didn't
Pacers
he have no
playback.
turnovers too?
Yeah, it was terrific. 0 turnovers. You'll take 10 assists. That's very Halliburton-like right there. Pacers playback presented by C&J Water, the official water treatment partner of the Indiana Pacers. CNJwater.com. Every game, the Pacers playback brought to you by CNJwater.com. All right, we'll talk more about the Colts and their second loss of the season. Came on the road to Pittsburgh yesterday. What went wrong? We'll get your feedback as well at 239-1070 as the Fan Morning Show continues.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Here's a quarterback sneak by Daniel Jones. He's in! Touchdown! And the Steelers have gone 3 and out on both of their drives to begin the game as Corliss Waitman punts, and he may have been run into. As Josh Downs muffs the ball, it's picked up by the Steelers. Backing to throw on play action is Jones, and the ball may have come out, and it is a strip sack and a recovery by T.J. Watt. That is their first takeaway in the last 3+ games, and T.J. Watt, the strip sack master, gets a sack and a fumble recovery. Daniel Jones takes to the air, and he throws it right to a Steeler. That's Peyton Wilson. He's at the 20 and then tripped up, and it's the 3rd giveaway today already in this first half by the Colts. Rodgers backs to throw, plants, zips it upfield, and it's caught at the goal line for a touchdown. Pat Fryermuth. Jones RPO throws it up, and it's picked off. It's batted up in the air and intercepted by the Steelers. And they sweep it to Warren, and he's in. Touchdown. Pittsburgh has their biggest advantage so far. Jones out of the gun, on the near hash, backs the pass again, and it's tipped to the line of scrimmage again, incomplete. No, it's recovered by Pittsburgh. Back in the throw is Jones, over the middle, flies it, and it's picked off. Joey Porter Jr. They tried to go to Josh Downs, but was intercepted by Porter. That's giveaway number 6 today for the Indianapolis Colts.
Hard to win when you turn it over like we did.
To turn it over as many times as we did today, you're going to have a tough time winning. So obviously that's on me. I got to protect the ball better and make sure we're giving ourselves a chance.
Get out.
Mark Dykton once again telling the story of yesterday's game with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts. Steelers win at 27-20, and Myles Turner returning to the Fieldhouse with the Milwaukee Bucks tonight to take on his old team, the Indiana Pacers. We will start with the Colts. They turned the ball over 6 times yesterday. They actually had 4 fumbles. They lost 3 of them. Jones had 3 fumbles and lost 2 of them, and then Josh Downs muffed that punt as well, and then a couple of 3 interceptions by Daniel Jones. And it wasn't all just a terrible day by Daniel Jones. That was on the entire offensive line as much as it was on Daniel Jones as well. I thought the receivers played pretty well yesterday, but the offensive line didn't do Daniel Jones any favors in that game, Kevin.
No, I mean, if you want to lay blame at one position group for this game, I actually think it's probably fair to say that for the Colts offensive line. I don't think I even said that after the loss to the Rams. I think that unit has largely been very good this season, but it wasn't just the breakdowns in pass protection, particularly off the edge. I thought the inability to get Jonathan Taylor going. Again, I can't imagine there's many games, certainly as of late with Taylor, where he has 14 carries and not a single one of them go for double-digit yards. So that Pittsburgh defense, which had been much maligned, major questions. They traded for a safety midweek. He started in the game, and they come out there and really since that T.J. Watt strip sack early in the second quarter, that changed the game, and it was an avalanche from there. So now just, I think, a little healthy tension for the Colts as they get ready to travel to Berlin later this week. They'll fly out late Thursday. They take on a Falcons team as a touchdown favorite. The Falcons lost yesterday to the Patriots.
So, Kevin, the other thing that's crazy, this team has done so well running the football, and Jonathan Taylor has just had a tremendous season, as we've documented and talked about. It's fair to me to say that their best run yesterday was a 3-yard run by Rodney Thomas on the fake punt. That might have been their best run of the day.
Honestly, Taylor had a hell of an effort on, 4th and 1. They gave him kind of that belly play. I thought that was impressive, breaking a couple tackles there. But, yeah, it was just a really unusual day. And I don't, a lot of people think of, hey, I'm blaming Shane Steichen, didn't give Taylor the ball enough. I mean, Steichen's MO all season has been throw to score, run to win. And when they have run it, they've usually found more success than yesterday. I mean, Taylor couldn't have been over 3 yards per carry. I don't have the box score in front of me, but the inability to establish anything, I think, was the root of the issue. And then you just had some big time breakdowns, and the turnovers obviously tell an entire story there. So if you'd have told me that the Colts lost this game, I would not have thought for 1 second they would have done it after being 5 of 5 on 4th down, after limiting DK Metcalf to 2 catches, after limiting Jaylen Warren to less than 2 yards per carry. They outgained Pittsburgh by 100 and some yards. There's so much you point to as like, wow, that's a definite recipe for not only a win, but a blowout win. And yet you couldn't run it, and you had 6 turnovers.
All right, let's go to the phone lines, get some Colts Nation feedback at 239-1070 right now. We'll talk about the Pacers as well. Do we want to start Colts or Pacers? Where do you want to go here? Well, they're both Pacers, baby. Everybody's got Myles Turner. They want to turn the page, Kevin. Everybody's got Myles Turner on their mind this morning. How about that?
Who we got, Mark?
Let's go with Martin first at 239-1070. Good morning, Martin. What's on your mind with Pacers basketball tonight?
Hey, good morning, guys. KB, got a question for you, man. So I'm a season ticket holder, and we're at the game Saturday night, and my wife asked me, well, do you think they would have re-signed Myles if we would have hung on and won Game 7? Like, if we replayed that second half, Tyrese is still out for this whole upcoming year. Does that make it easier for Myles to leave because we've already got the championship? Does that make it easier for ownership to let him leave because we've already got the championship? What are your thoughts on that? They were up at halftime of Game 7, so if they would have hung on and won, what would be different, if anything?
So Halliburton tears his Achilles, though?
Yes.
I'm going to say no. I don't know. Maybe the championship feels a little different, but the fact that the window, again, for this year, and we'll see if it lingers for anything longer, would be different. I don't believe they would have dipped their toes all the way into as far as Milwaukee went. And that's where they got blindsided. I just don't think they thought, because, by all accounts, and we had Eric Name from almost said the Brewers, from the Bucks side of it last week from The Athletic, and he mentioned the 2 deals were this. Milwaukee went 4 years, $108 million. Pacers went 3 years, 66. Well, that is a big old jump to get from 3 to 66 to 4 for 108. And if you're going to tell me the Achilles is still torn, I'm going to say no. Now, maybe if Tyrese does it, maybe the Pacers are a little bit more willing, but again, I think they were pretty blindsided by what the Bucks did, which, just to refresh everybody's memories, Milwaukee waived Damian Lillard and ate all that money from Lillard to go out and spend the money on Turner.
Crazy stuff. Appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. And what that means, when you put all that into perspective now, and I know that Myles is, I think, misspoken a couple of times the last few weeks, whether he's been on a podcast or somewhere else, but he's also come back on social media, tried to clarify things. Remember, he was waxing about how great Milwaukee was as a city, that he's been out and about, and he's gone to baseball games and Packer games and everything else, and talking about what a great Midwest city it is. Had to come back and redefine the fact that he was just talking about Milwaukee. It had nothing to do with Indianapolis. A lot of backtracking there. What does that mean for his introduction tonight?
You think they still should do a tribute video?
Guy was here for over a decade. I do think he shows some appreciation. Then you move on. Like I said, before all these kind of podcast things came out, I would say you give him a nice round of applause when he's introduced, and then the first time he touches the basketball and every time after that, you boo him for the rest of the night. That's how it goes.
Yeah, I think you're going to hear some boo birds during the video itself, just kind of based off some of those comments. And he has not played very well this season. I know he had one of his better games over the weekend, but he's really struggled shooting the basketball with the Bucks. So I'll be curious how he plays in this environment. Obviously didn't play well in the finals at all. And the Pacers need it. I mean, if you can put your Myles Turner Venom appreciation to the side, the Pacers, home opportunities, you got to take advantage of them. They got Brooklyn on Wednesday. You think that's a golden opportunity before they head out west. And the injury report really hasn't proved much over the weekend. Andrew Nembhard is still out. Benedict Mather's out. The Obi Toppin news, we should probably mention that. Going to be out till at least February. We
thought it was only going to be a month last week, right?
Right, with that stress reaction. So they got the medical hardship. They signed, what's his name? Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who I think, if you're a college basketball fan, you probably know that name. Big East Player of the Year at Villanova, was on the U19 gold medal team with Tyrese Halliburton. But when I saw that move, he's more of a bigger guy, 6'7", 6'8". I thought, okay, this could mean something for Obi and him not being back for quite a while there. So huge opportunity for Jarris Walker, which it's still going to be a roller coaster with him, or at least has been here through the first half dozen games.
He was the guy on the assist, though, for both those big 3-pointers down the stretch there, one for Quentin Jackson and one for Pascal Siakam. So he did some decent things the other night.
Yeah, that was a big comeback. I think anytime you play Saturday night NBA games in the fall like this, it can kind of get a little bit lost in the shuffle. I get the Warriors always create, a bit of a crowd, but that was a huge comeback. I mean, you were looking at another loss for the Pacers. They very well could be winless going into tonight. So much, much needed, and can't say enough good things about the effort Quentin Jackson gave and just the level that he played with for the Pacers on Saturday.
239-1070, number to call. John's up next here on the Fan Morning Show. Good morning, John. What you got for us?
What's going on, guys? Love the show. Hey, Mark the guy before me, I thought he was going to steal my thunder.
Uh-oh.
But, you think about, had the Pacers won the championship, it would have been a totally different negotiating season for Myles. And you got to remember, Myles played like garbage in that finals. And they were right for lowballing him. But then think about this. You remember back when the Pacers and the Knicks played in that Eastern Conference Finals, and I forgot his name. Who was the guy who fouled Grandmama? Antonio Davis.
Yeah.
Antonio Davis, after that series, wanted out. And, and listening to him do interviews over the years, he said he wanted out because it was hard going to that locker room when he knew he didn't play his best. And when he knew that the team played their best, but he didn't play his best. And I think Milwaukee kind of got Myles off the hook because nobody would have paid him that much money. No one else in the league. And he knew from the way that he played, that was probably the best offer he was going to get from the Pacers. But then Milwaukee came down. And honestly, they're going to regret that because, no disrespect to Myles. He's a good player, but he's not a great player. And they paid him great player money, and it hasn't panned out. And look, and then Myles don't realize Tyrese Halliburton was the best thing that ever happened to him. It resurrected his career. And from that finals, he did not play his best. And look, we can all agree, if he would have played good basketball, they would have won that championship. And I think he feels a little bit from that.
All right,
That's
buddy.
my take on it.
No, appreciate the phone call. Thanks very much, John. And, so much going on with the Myles thing. He was a subject of trade rumors almost every season in the offseason for the last several years. Things did change. I don't care what anybody says when Tyrese Halliburton goes down in Game 7 there. It changes the economic outlook of your future. And I think in some ways, while they miss him, I think you're right, Kevin. Ultimately, in the front office of the Pacers, did they like Myles? Yeah. Did they love watching him grow up here? Yeah. He's an easy guy to like. But from a basketball and economic standpoint, it made no sense for them to give him a big contract moving forward.
I have no issue with what either party did. None.
Yeah, if you're Myles, you're going to go get an extra $42 million. Who's not going to do that?
Played here for 10 years. You've got one more big payday left in your NBA career. By all means, go do it. You've been rumored in trade, talks for years. Go ahead. And if you're the Pacers, continue to give him contracts of, B money, B plus money, however you want to label Myles Turner as a player. And I've got no issue with fans being fans tonight. Show your venom. If you're frustrated by Myles Turner's words, if you're frustrated by how he played in the finals, that's part of being a fan. Like that venom or that passion, I guess, is real. And again, there'll be some inside that building tonight that will want to show appreciation. And maybe you're going to watch that video and you might hear that Indiana and you might see a hug of Nancy Leonard and your emotions might be all over the place at 7:05 tonight when they show that video. But that's part of just kind of sports. And we don't get these opportunities. I think in professional sports, some of this stuff is going to start to wane. We won't get, 10 years with one team is not something that is going to be, I think, much of a given here moving forward. So I don't want to act like it's Peyton Manning's return or even Paul George's return. But still, in today's era, tonight's one of the more unique nights I think we'll have kind of going forward here. So I expect a good amount of booze during the tribute video, and then I definitely expect a good amount of booze during the game. And I'm fascinated to see how Turner plays because I've never really thought he's one that's necessarily excelling as the villain.
But you said you're all in on Notre Dame Long Island tonight.
Right. I know. We're going to be juggling some things in the Bowen household.
All right. Mark, let's go talk to Tanner next at 239-1070 this morning on a Monday morning. Good morning, Tanner. What you got?
Good morning, fellas. I texted last week about Myles and his Legos. And, Jeff, it is absolutely crazy to be nice to Myles Turner tonight. I'm going to go in Kevin's bag a little bit, his favorite sports, golf, and Tiger Woods. We need to do a little golf clap for Myles. But over top all of that, we need to boo that man. But with all that said, a lot of respect for the guy for getting the Bucks to go out of their way and get rid of a Hall of Fame player for Myles Turner for $108 million. And guess what he's doing? 9 points, 5 rebounds. And everybody that says Myles Turner would make this team better than they currently are constructed, there ain't no way 9 points and 5 rebounds would turn this 1-5 team into a 5-1 team. It's no shot. It's the best case scenario for both parties, like Kevin has said.
Tanner, did the Turner comments recently, has that spurred more of the booing from you, or were you always going to be Team Boo?
I was always going to be Team Boo, but you cannot, as you know, the right-hand man, the big guy of his former team, the protector, and then to come out on a guy's podcast who doesn't even play, who's only in the NBA because Giannis is one of the greatest players to play, and Turner goes there and trashes Tyrese. You can't trash the guy that turns you into one of the best big men in the league. Because we all remember what he looked like with Malcolm Brogdon running the show. Absolute garbage.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I do think there's a little bit of context around the Tyrese clip. I know that's the one that went viral. I think if you watch kind of the full, and I'm trying to think, did we even play that on Friday, Mark?
We didn't.
There is a little bit more of a praising of Tyrese from a public light. And I'm not even pointing to those comments necessarily. Hey, I want to go to a place where whatever, I feel celebrated. I get why that frustrates some Pacers fans. And I understand that deep down, Turner probably didn't mean it to the extent that it looks like it on paper. So, yeah, it's going to be quite the atmosphere tonight.
All right, 239-1070, number to call or text. Charles, who, by the way, called Trap Game Pittsburgh upset on Friday. Charles says, why still proceed with a video tribute for a person who made it clear he no longer cares about it here? He made his feelings felt, so cancel it. After the way it all ended, don't give him the satisfaction. I think there are a lot of people that are leaning that way, along with not just Charles there, but also Tanner, our last phone call there. I think maybe 2 weeks ago they'd have said, okay. Right now, I think everybody's like, no, you're a member of the Bucks. You seem happy with that. You seem like you're glad you're out of Indianapolis, so see ya.
Yeah, and again, I know there are fans that come from all different sorts of backgrounds is the word that's popping in my head. That's probably not the best word to use, but I don't know, if you sat in Turner's block for 3 or 4 years, you might have a different opinion of him. I don't want to act like everybody.
I miss Turner's block, those guys. I miss those guys.
I don't want to act like everybody's all in Tanner's camp of just, we're going to boo every single minute tonight. I think there's probably more in the boo camp, but, there are probably some that realize, hey, business is business. And, yeah, he said some things on the way out that was a little bit of jealous ex-girlfriend, but at the same time, he did contribute here for 10 years in a notable manner.
What did the folks in Turner's block do tonight? Are they conflicted at all? What's their reaction?
So how'd that work? Turner literally bought your tickets for 41 nights out of the year? Is that how it worked?
I think so.
Boy, I think I'd have a lot of appreciation for it.
I think yeah.
Would you not?
Right.
I have no idea how it worked financially for people in Turner's block. But yeah, I would tend to think you're probably going to have a few more golf claps than some others would.
This guy's all right. What you guys doing?
Hey, here's the one thing I always say, and we have the opportunity to get to know guys a little bit. Not like we hang out or anything like that, but I always liked Myles. He's just a nice guy.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know him. I don't. And, I did think it was cool at Vegas Summer League this year when he singled out Tony East and complimented Tony in a big kind of press, scrum, if you will, of, hey, thank you, Tony, for always, covering me the right way. And I would hope and think that the Bucks will have some sort of morning shoot around today, and I'm hoping Myles Turner gets a chance to talk to Tony and to Dustin DePierac. And I don't know, 10 hours before tip, there's probably not much you can really say that's going to change it. But, I would think those would be a lot of specific questions, in relation to does he feel the need to clear up anything he said over the last 3 months? And maybe at this point, people are like, who the bleep cares? You've already said enough, man. I don't need to hear from you.
All right, let's do a very quick check down here, and we'll talk more about both Colts and Pacers in a moment.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Just the facts, ma'am. The facts are Pittsburgh beat Indianapolis 27-20 in Pittsburgh yesterday, despite falling behind early and looking like it was going to be off to the races for the Colts. They were up 7-0. They were driving again, and then a strip sack by T.J. Watt changed everything, Kevin Bowen. What happened after that?
Yeah, I thought that was a massive, the most important play of the game, bar none. The Colts are on the verge of going up 10-0, 14-0. Pittsburgh had yet to have a first down in the game. This is early second quarter. It's a 1st and 10, and Watt does vintage TJ Watt things. And from then, it just seemed like everything shifted. Daniel Jones threw a pick. I thought his worst interception of the season, that one over the middle there to Peyton Wilson. And that's something I thought Pittsburgh did a really nice job of. The first and second reads, I thought they were all over it for Daniel Jones. And the more he had to kind of progress, the more that pass rush got home to him, and that was the difference from there. So, yeah, I don't think the final score indicates how much Pittsburgh was in control, but obviously the 6 Colts turnovers had a ton to do with it.
6 turnovers. Kevin, the Colts had more first downs passing. They had more first downs rushing. They had more time of possession. Pittsburgh committed more penalties. Everything was going right for the Colts except the turnovers, and they lose by a score 27-20 after that. Try to turn the page this week and go out of the country as they'll take on the Atlanta Falcons from Berlin. That one comes your way on Sunday. Also over the weekend, Indiana, a crushing win over Maryland, 55-10. They are now ranked second in the country, and they have been for the last couple of weeks, still behind Ohio State in both the AP Top 25 and the Coaches Poll. This almost never happens. Both the AP and the Coaches Bowl, identical top 10s going into the first week of the college football playoff rankings later on this week, Kevin. Kind of interesting there.
I'll leave it to college football where we can finally agree on something.
Yeah, in fact, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish have snuck into the top 10.
They need to find a soccer player who can make a kick.
Maybe get one of those guys from Pat McAfee's game day.
Brandon Aubrey, right? Notre Dame soccer player. Why can't they find the next version of him?
All right, Indiana will play at Penn State this Saturday, and Ohio State will be traveling to Purdue. That game starts at 1 o'clock at Ross-Ade on Saturday afternoon. College basketball later on tonight. IU Indianapolis on the road to play Ohio State. Louisiana up in Muncie to take on Ball State. And Long Island, as you may or may not know, Kevin, will be playing up in South Bend tonight against Notre Dame. Indiana State is on the road to play Charlotte. Purdue Fort Wayne taking on Grand Canyon.
Mark, I noticed on the layout of the show you didn't list any 10-minute segment dedicated to Notre Dame basketball.
I do. I have it penciled in right here at 9:59.
When we're in break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just let you rant for a little bit.
All right.
Glad Jeff thought that was funny.
And, of course, later on tonight, Milwaukee Bucks take on the Indiana Pacers. 7 o'clock tip time. We'll have the pregame for you beginning at 6:30 with Pat Boylan and Mark Boyle. Mark will have the play-by-play after that right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I did want to point out and let you point out, too, an unbelievable high school career continues on here in the state of Indiana, and possibly Derrick Henry, of all people's national rushing record title for career yards in a high school career may be in jeopardy.
Yeah, we head up north, head up 31 to Knox, where Miles McLaughlin, their running quarterback, is probably the best way to describe him. I've seen some highlights. It's obviously an offense very catered around Tim Tebowing it up there. He ran for over 400 yards in their sectional win over Griffith. That broke Charlie Spiegel's state record. So he is now north of 11,000 career yards. He is about 1,100 away from Derrick Henry's national record. We need a picture of Derrick Henry next to Miles McLaughlin at some point.
By the way, Derrick Henry has looked like he's looked now in the NFL since he was 16 years old.
Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram picture from the coin toss back when he was at Alabama. And McLaughlin would need to average, somewhere between, I think it's 270-ish. And they'd have to obviously make it to the state championship for him to play the full 4 games. I know that sounds like an absurd number. That's what he does. Now, granted, you're about to play better teams theoretically here. as they make their way through the 3A northern side of the bracket here. But that is a real thing to watch. That would be awesome. Can you imagine? State final weekend, and we're watching a kid from, a random place in the state of Indiana try and break Derrick Henry's national record here at Lucas Oil Stadium in that 3A state title game. So, maybe the Cascade defense, that's what they could have on the line here. We'll see how the rest of the 3A draw plays out there. But shout out to Miles McLaughlin. Colin Denrip wrote a great piece on him a few weeks back. Seems like a pretty good kid.
Also want to point out, too, there was one trade for a defensive-minded player in the NFL already this morning.
Yeah, let's get to that on the other side, because I do think it has some impact with the Colts.
We'll do that, and we'll talk about headlines from yesterday as well. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Pittman over 100 yards receiving. Back in the throw is Jones. Over the middle, flies it, and it's picked off. Joey Porter Jr. They tried to go to Josh Downs, but was intercepted by Porter. That's giveaway number 6 today for the Indianapolis Colts.
Not good. They lose 27-20 on an afternoon. They give up 6 turnovers, Kevin Bowen. And as we do every week, Mark Dykton, you ask for and you receive.
That
fan
sound you
headlines,
just made
man.
sounds like when Max Bowen tells me he just pooped his pants.
You didn't like that one?
That was Jeff after Steak and Shake and 5 Guys.
That was rough.
My guts.
That was rough.
Animal waking up in the plains exhibit over at the zoo.
A bear coming out of hibernation.
Jeez, dear Lord.
What did I miss here? Why
Does
my
that not
fur look
accurately
like this?
describe the performance of the Colts offense yesterday?
Yeah, it was a
Sure.
that was a frustrating game.
Man,
Frustrating
oh man.
game.
What do people have to say about those things, Mark? Let's find out.
Read all about it.
I can't read it. There's no words on it.
I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
Ripped from the headlines of the newspaper.
We'll do it live.
Post-game headlines.
F***ing thing sucks.
All right, I think my favorite one was a late entry one. Alex, the IU football fan, says Indiana Jones's Temple of Turnovers.
Ooh.
I thought that was really well done.
That is.
That's one of our best this year.
Jeremy plays the acronym game here. OL? Question mark? More like LOL. Little reference there, obviously, to the Colts offensive line.
Also well done.
Colts fan says the other shoe dropped instead of, the horseshoe.
We got a couple of those.
Mhm.
Aaron, Colts bakery offense served turnovers.
Ooh.
Bakery in quotes. You guys ever fans of, I guess locally, probably not. Roslyn Bakery, was that around when you guys moved here?
No, I don't remember Roslyn.
Mm-mm.
Gosh, used to love it.
Where was that at?
Oh, they had one right off Carmel. Was it off Carmel Drive? Yeah. No, Range Line, like 116th. Gosh, loved it.
Jim says, are the Colts really legit? Jason says, suckage of Watt, TV, and Field. So I think some bit of
that's a good one, the Watt one.
Yeah, I know. Bit of overreaction a little bit. I think it's one loss. You would have taken 7-2. Every Colts fan would have taken 7-2 at this point in the season. So I get people are frustrated. It was a frustrating game, but they've played very well throughout the season. So you lay an egg every once in a while. It's just the nature of the NFL. They say any given Sunday, and the Steelers found a way to win.
Yeah, when you're 7-1, you've earned the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You've earned it. Let me be clear on that. One game doesn't define you by any means. Having said that, these are some of the types of teams and atmospheres you are going to see the rest of the season and obviously will see in the playoffs. Like if you want to boil the schedule down right now, I'd point to the Rams, I'd point to the Chargers, I'd point to the Broncos, and then yesterday. Those are kind of the 4 playoff type teams you faced. Okay, how have those games gone? Chargers you controlled. Steelers you did not. Group those to the side. Broncos could have gone either way. Rams could have gone either way. So those 4 games, 2-2, had chances to win 3 of the 4. I don't think you really, I guess the game just got away from you yesterday. Once Watt made that play there, that's when it started to. So honestly, the Colts are probably due for a game where the tip ball luck goes the other team's way and, fumble luck a little bit. So I do think, facing 4 or 5-man rush teams that can commit themselves to taking away Jonathan Taylor and then have the edge pressure to get after Daniel Jones, that is a January recipe. And that's why I look at the trade deadline tomorrow and think the Colts need to be active there and trying to find an edge rusher.
Any others you want to throw in there? Those are really good this week, by the way.
No, I think that was about the best ones I saw because other ones, again, a little bit of a bitching and moaning for one loss against the Steelers team that had their backs against the wall.
Yeah. All right, we'll do that every week. Headlines right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Kevin, there was one bright spot that I did want to point out yesterday.
Where are you going?
I thought the kicking game from long range looked pretty good yesterday.
Connected from 52 and 53, right, Michael Badgley?
Yeah.
Not the prettiest looking things, but they went in.
They went through. And that's a tough place to kick field goals. That's one of the reasons they've kept Boswell all those years because he seems to know how to handle all the swirling winds there.
Yeah, from a positive standpoint, I'll point to Jalen Jones. guy has missed a month and a half. They put him on DK Metcalf a whole lot, and I thought Jalen Jones played pretty well. I know he had the big penalty, unsportsmanlike there late in the first half, as kind of being the second one to get caught there at DK Metcalf, but still, to me, I see a little bit more cornerback insurance coming. And Miami traded edge rusher Jalen Phillips to the Eagles earlier today for a third-round pick. That's kind of the trade and the price tag I thought the Colts would be in the market for.
All right, we're going to finish up with some phone calls in a moment here as we roll through a Monday, not a victory Monday this week, unless you're talking about Indiana football. We could deem it a victory Monday for Indiana football, but we'll continue and wrap it up next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Kirk bounces one up the middle. Bits to the back. Over to first to beat the champ. You gotta knock him out. The Dodgers stand tall and win back-to-back titles.
Classic Game 7 on Saturday night. That was the start, really just a continuation of an amazing weekend of sports that saw Indiana football roll again. Colts lost on the road yesterday. We saw some just really entertaining sports all weekend long. And, of course, the Pacers won on Saturday night. And tonight they get ready for the return of Myles Turner. I did feel bad, Kevin, for Toronto as a city. Not only did they lose Game 7 last night, or Saturday night, to the Dodgers, but the Maple Leafs lost Game 7 to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers back in the Eastern Conference Finals of the NHL season as well. That's a rough year for a city in sports, man.
Well, it's a great call by Joe Davis right there. Yeah, that just, I mean, Mark's brought it up all show long. I mean, the Will Smith foot, it was Vlad, right, who was coming home?
Yep.
You know, how close Vlad was. I mean, that is a, you know, obviously we have moments here. We have a Hank Basket onside kick. We have whatever, Halliburton. You know, it maybe Aaron Bailey's Hail Mary. Some people would throw that in there. Just so close. And honestly, it took me a couple of replays before I thought that Will Smith got his foot back on the plate. There were a few those first couple they showed, I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, we might have an overturn here, and this is about to be a World Series decided on replay. Boy, what a moment. You know, it's one of those things where we all make these decisions. Hey, are we going to stay up? I'm so glad I stayed up. That was just an awesome, awesome game. Yeah, I can only imagine what that Toronto fan base is feeling.
All right, little potpourri to finish things off here. We've got a couple of things to talk about. Let's go to the phone lines, and we will hit up on Reggie right now at 239-1070. Morning, Reggie. What's up?
Nothing much, man. How you doing this morning, man?
Happy to hear from you. What you got?
Look, I think that Myles Turner zone, you have to try out for that area, and you have to be the routist. My seats used to be below that.
Yeah.
I'm a Myles Turner fan, man, and I don't have no problem with him. As many times as people try to trade him, he gave us some good years. He gave us some bad years. But overall, Myles was loyal to the Pacers, and you always heard his name in trade rumors and stuff. So I really don't have a problem with Myles at all, man. You got to do what's right for you. If you feel like the Bucks make you better, some more to be. But I also went back and listened to the comments. I don't really think he was trying to make fun of Tyrese. I think he was trying to say that Tyrese is a nice guy off the court. He just talks trash on the court.
Yep.
So I really, once I listened to the whole narrative of it and not just part of it, I understood where he was coming from. Yes, I'm a Dodgers fan. I was happy for the Dodgers. Congrats to IU, and congrats on the Pacers getting their first win. I did the game on Wednesday. I'm still a Pacers fan. I'm still loyal to the team. This is my first time calling your show because usually I work nights and I call JMV's show. But I'm on the golf course right now this morning, so I decided to call in.
Oh,
Thanks for
Reggie,
allowing me to call in.
Reggie, where are you playing?
Man,
that's the most important part.
Golf Club of Indiana.
Okay. Love me some
got you up there in
GCI
Zionsville.
action there. Some of the biggest greens around. I love it, man. Reggie, you hit them well.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, man. Great to hear from Reggie
Why
this
can't
morning.
I be Reggie right now?
It's still time during your day, or you got to go over to the Colts.
Imagine telling Maddie, yeah, you're 39 weeks and 3 days pregnant. I'm going to go play golf.
You got the kids, right? I got the clubs.
Oh, yeah,
I'll see you
Max is
later.
homesick. Yeah, you got him.
Luke points out on the text line that his buddy was in Turner's block for 2 seasons, and as Reggie pointed out, Turner/sponsorships covered the seats you had to try out to earn them for the year. Show up and show your fandom along with agreeing to stand and hype up the fans for the entire game. It was peak during the Paul George era. So there you go.
He will get booed tonight, which, again, I'm fine with. I get there are a lot of fans out there that will, appreciate the time that he has given to the Pacers. And
I'm not mad at Myles. I'm just not.
That's fine, but I think some of the comments were a little edgy from Myles.
I do think context matters, though, and as Reggie pointed out.
Well, I'm not just talking about the
right,
however you say his name, his little podcast. I mean, I think there were comments around the whole offseason of, a place you feel celebrated. Well, okay, maybe you didn't feel celebrated here financially, which we don't need to get in that argument, but I think the fan base, for the most part, they, very appreciative of Turner. There's part of me that I'm just kind of done with the story.
Well, it'll be over after tonight.
Right. I'm like very much looking forward to not having to debate this and not have to, wait on his, every single word. I assume the Bucs will have a shoot around this morning. I assume Tony East and Dustin DePierac will get the chance, hopefully, to chat with them if he wants to clarify anything or, anything along those lines. And, we don't get this nightly in the NBA. Not a lot of circle the game on the calendar. This is a circle one on the calendar, and the Pacers need them. These home games right now, I get that you're an underdog and it looks like Giannis is going to play, but still, you got to try and get some of these games before you go out west because it doesn't look like you're getting that healthy really anytime soon.
All right, let's check in with JJ before we get out of here today. JJ, I'm going to let you have the last word on the phones today. Go for it.
Appreciate it, fellas. Appreciate listening to you every morning. Mark, we always fly the W no matter what.
Say it loud and say it proud.
That's exactly right.
JJ, you're going to be puking up all this Halloween candy I've been eating.
Hey, real quick on the Colts, it's just a blip on the radar. One thing we just don't need to do is play with our backs against the wall. Then you put Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones, and a lot of pressure, and you put the line up there, and you make the defense tired. I don't think this is going to be a big setback for them. I think they'll be fine. They're going to go and get they have the fifth hardest schedule now going into the latter part of the season. I think they'll be fine. Now, on the Turner issue there, I've been a Turner fan. I'm going to stay a Turner fan. Yes, some of his comments were a bit maybe questionable or abrasive. But at the end of the day, who would you rather have on the court if he was still here? Jackson, Bradley, well, Wiseman is gone. So we would still want Turner. So, best of luck to him tonight, but we want the Pacers to win. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have
JJ.
a great day, JJ. Yeah. Aaron from Minnesota calling us, talking to both of us today, calling me out. He says, as a Leafs fan, thanks for reopening wounds of Game 7s, Jeff. So I don't know if I did that on purpose. And then Kevin, he says his girlfriend jokingly made a Stanley Cup decorated with a Maple Leafs logo that says, we always, almost always win. We always, almost always win. So as for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's a tough road. How's Aaron in Minnesota become a Colts fan and a Maple Leafs fan? That's what I want to know.
Aaron's a P1 listener right there.
I know, he's
They're
the best.
As dedicated as they come. You think
He's
we
a
get a
P1
Colts
DMer, too.
You think we get a Colts trade by our show tomorrow?
It'll tell us whether they're completely all in or not, I would think.
You think yesterday should shift their thinking one way or the other?
I think they need something. Yesterday, all of a sudden, do you start thinking about your offensive line, or you just that was a blip on the screen yesterday?
No, I don't think you.
I don't
all
think
of a
you
sudden
do
you're
either. But
benching one of those offensive linemen. But to me, I think Pittsburgh sent a message of what a pass rush can do for you.
Yeah. Michael from Louisville reminds us it was not Vlad at the plate on the play. It was IKA who had come in as a pinch runner. That's right. They brought him in. Base running overall doomed the Jays. And that game turned on so many moments, though. There were so many different moments. I was also looking back on the series, and rightfully so. Noba wins the MVP, but Shohei Ohtani had a really good World Series, guys. He did start 2 games. He wasn't a disaster on the mound. He wasn't his sharp self. But, only Vlad had a higher OPS for the entire World Series than Shohei. He's the only guy, Mark.
Unbelievable.
So Yamamoto won MVP, right?
Yes. Yeah, anytime a guy appears in 3 games, wins 2 of them, and comes back and saves your bacon in the 3rd, I think that's the guy. What else do we have here? Here we go. Anonymous says, just my opinion, but everybody is downing Indiana Jones. Yeah, he had some turnovers, but we still only lost by 7 points with us having 6 turnovers. And he feels that if they didn't throw the last interception, they were moving down the field, I think they would have scored to tie, but that's not how it worked out. So anyway, thanks for the time this morning. We're a little bit overtime. Have a great one. JMV at 3, Jake at noon. See ya.